Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. The story begins as a young boy named Minato makes a shrine with his grandpa. They put some sweets on the shelf, and Minato is shocked when something takes them. Minato sees that it was a little girl, and she mysteriously disappears. Minato is horrified, and his grandpa is just glad that Minato is finally able to see them. From what Grandpa can tell, Minato's only able to see the good ones. He explains that what Minato is seeing is called the house spirit. The little girl has lived in this house even longer than he has. He tells Minato to be generous and let her have some snacks whenever she wants. He explains that Minato can see things that other people can't. It might bring him some problems, but there will be a time when his power will help him. Years later, Minato arrives at his new home. There is a strange power around it, and Minato wonders if he's seeing things. As soon as he touches the front gate, the power seems to scatter. The paper with his directions blows away, and it lands on a shrine in the forest. A power bursts from the shrine, and a mysterious eye opens. Minato is amazed by how big his new home is, but he can tell that it needs some TLC. As he cleans the house, Minato speaks with his mother about how he got this place. A distant relative built it for their retirement, but they passed away. No one has lived here for 2 years, and Minato can only wonder why no one tried to buy it. She explains that a few people came to see the house, but something caused them to change their mind. Minato wonders if the house is cursed, and we see that the mysterious fog is looking at Minato's writing. Outside, Minato finds some flowers on the ground. He wonders who put them there, and he notices something strange in the bushes. The next day, Minato thanks a gardener for fixing his backyard. Minato explains that he won't be here for long, so he doesn't want to change too much. Just then, the mysterious fog hovers over the gardener, and he feels a bit of pain. One of Minato's memos blows into the guy's arm, and the pain goes away. Minato has been noticing something strange because his writing keeps disappearing. A day later, Minato finds that someone left some berries on the ground in his backyard. He spots a mysterious creature, and he thinks back to when he saw the house spirit when he was a kid. The little girl used to leave him gifts just like this, so Minato realizes what's going on. He appreciates what this new spirit is doing, so he goes to find a thank you gift. Minato makes a whole offering, and the spirit finally reveals itself. Minato wonders if it's a giant dog, and the spirit says that it will be entering the home now. Minato is shocked because he has never heard a dog speak before. The spirit says that it's not a dog, and his name is Yamagami. He is a god of the neighboring mountain, and Minato wonders if he's the one that has been bringing him gifts. Minato shows him what he bought to return the favor, so Yamagami digs in. Yamagami says that the meat is fatty, but it's still really good. Minato offers him some sake to clean his palate, but Yamagami explains that he's not at full strength yet. He won't be able to handle liquor, so water will be fine. Yamagami says that Minato's been a lifesaver, but Minato can't understand why. Yamagami explains that it's because he exorcised an evil in the mountains. While Yamagami was weakened, a certain evil caused a lot of problems. Yamagami had a lot of fun watching it get wiped out by Minato. Minato says that he didn't do anything, so Yamagami explains what's going on. It turns out that Minato's handwriting exorcises evil. Just then the gardener returns because he forgot one of his tools. Minato desperately tries to hide Yamagami, but Yamagami explains that Minato is the only person that can see him. As Yamagami enjoys more sparkling water, Minato wonders why his writing has so much power. Yamagami isn't sure, and he wonders if anyone has ever complimented his writing before. Minato explains that it's only happened once, when he was a kid. He carved the name of his family's inn on a nameplate, and his father allowed him to display it. One day, a mysterious customer came in, and he noticed it right away. He couldn't believe that Minato made it, and he said that they should never take it down. He even recommended Minato to make another one, so he could have one at his house. This guy was really impressed, and he offered to pay Minato if he made one for him. Since then, making nameplates for his family's house has become Minato's hobby. Of course, Minato has even made a few for his new house, so Yamagami says that he should put them up. He puts one on the front door and one on the back, and this creates a barrier around the house. Minato has never seen this before, and Yamagami explains that evil things cannot even approach this house anymore. Minato wonders if his writing is really that powerful, and Yamagami says that his power is rare. If Minato becomes aware of it and hones it, he will gain great power. A few days later, Yamagami returns, and Minato gives him some sweets. Just then, Yamagami begins to glow, and he says that it's all thanks to Minato. Minato has been giving him a great deal of respect, and this is what's making him glow. Minato respectfully thanks him for coming to his home, and Yamagami begins to glow even brighter. The light soon becomes blinding, so Minato has to ask him to turn it down a bit. Elsewhere, some evil spirits attack a man as he says some words. He releases his power, and it sends the spirits flying outside the building. The man's assistant says that this is bad news because one of the spirits has escaped to the outside. The man named Harima declares that he will take care of it, and he chases the spirit. There's a shopping district up ahead, so Harima says that he has to exorcise the spirit immediately. Just then, Harima is horrified as the spirit is headed right towards a civilian. It's Minato, and the evil spirit crashes into him. The spirit is obliterated, and Harima can't understand what he just saw. That was an incredibly strong evil spirit, and it was eliminated in the blink of an eye. Something strange falls away from Minato, but no one sees it. Harima wonders if Minato's okay, but Minato's upset about something else. His writing disappeared again, and it's what he wrote down to buy so he wouldn't forget. He tries to remember one of the things he wrote, and he describes it as something you have to replace once a week. After a few more clues, the still surprised Harima guesses that he's talking about garbage bags. Harima points him towards a store where he can buy some, so Minato leaves. Harima wonders who that guy was, and the thing that fell from Minato rolls away. Back home, Yamagami sits in the garden, and he uses some kind of power. Minato goes to the backyard, and he's shocked to find that it has completely transformed. Yamagami says that doing it was no big deal for a mountain god like himself. Minato had no clue that Yamagami could do something like this, and he's surprised to see that there's something different about his new friend. Yamagami has gotten smaller, and he explains that it's because he used his power. It's only temporary though, and he will soon grow back to normal. A few days later, Minato says that Yamagami hasn't visited in a while. He hopes that he's okay, and he's disappointed when the thing in his backyard is just a squirrel. He wonders if something happened, but Yamagami comes out of nowhere and tells him not to worry. Minato is shocked though when he sees that the mountain god has gotten even smaller. Minato wonders how much power he used to end up this way, but it was actually something else. Some other spirits appear, and Minato wonders if these are Yamagami's offspring. Yamagami reveals that these are actually his minions, called Martins. Yamagami split himself so that he could make them. Their names are Tarika, Utsugi, and Seri. Minato treats them to a delicious snack, and they all dig in. It's the most delicious thing they have ever tasted, but Yamagami points out that it's only because they were just born. A few hours later, Minato is stunned when Yamagami already returns to his normal size. Just then, Yamagami says that Minato has a visitor at his front gate. It's Harima, and he is stunned as he can sense something extraordinary coming from Minato's house. He struggles to comprehend what's going on, and he wonders if this is some kind of sacred ground. Minato invites him inside, and Harima doesn't waste any time. He asks Minato directly if it was his power that exorcised the evil spirit the other day. Minato didn't even realize that it happened, but it does make sense. Harima explains that lately, troublesome evil spirits are on the rise. People who can exorcise them are rare to begin with, and there are not enough of them to fight the spirits. That's why Harima wants to buy talisman from Minato. Minato doesn't even know what those are, and Yamagami explains that it's paper with Minato's handwriting on it. Harima's looking at Minato strangely, so Yamagami explains that he can't see him either. Minato doesn't think his little notepad is a big deal, and he explains that it's just his shopping list. Harima is stunned because that paper is what defeated the evil spirit that 3 powerful exorcists couldn't fight. In the end, that powerful spirit was exorcised by an amateur with a shopping list. Minato says that he can write something for him, and Harima wonders what he's going to write. He is then stunned when Minato just writes another shopping list. He's even more surprised when he sees the green glowing light emanating from Minato's writing. This doesn't make any sense, because an ordinary person writing a list of sweets should not have this much power. Minato realizes that he just got tired all of a sudden, and Yamagami explains that it's because he just used his power. Minato apologizes to Harima because this is all he can do, but Harima says that it's more than enough. Harima gives him a stack of bills, but Minato can't accept it. The notepad was only 100 yen, and he only used 1 piece. Harima says that it's worth it, and if anything, he isn't paying enough. It's worth a lot more, so Harima promises that he will bring the rest of the money at a later date. Minato still refuses, but Harima keeps on insisting. Minato has no choice, so he takes the money, and he thanks Harima. Our hero feels a bit guilty, so he draws a pentagram on Harima's hand. He figures that it might help, and Harima's left in amazement. Just then, Harima receives a call, and a girl says that they desperately need his help. They have encountered a powerful evil spirit, and Harima arrives to help. The others tell him not to be reckless, because even he can't exorcise an evil of this size. The being rushes to attack him, and everyone is stunned when it's torn to pieces. Harima didn't even do anything, and it was all thanks to the pentagram that Minato drew. Sometime later, Minato laments how he is broke. Harima gave him some money for his memo, but Minato already used it all. He spent it on high-quality food to treat Yamagami's minions. He also treated Yamagami himself, who's enjoying his delicious snack. The minions eat a lot of food, and they get really depressed if it's low quality. Moments later, we see that Minato is wondering if he should get a part-time job. It might help him pay for the snacks, but there's only so much he can do. Minato determines that he will just have to downgrade the quality of the snacks. Just then, Minato sees a raffle going on nearby. He buys a ticket and ends up being the winner of the first prize. It's a cash voucher for 100,000 yen, and Minato can't believe it. He goes to a liquor store to buy sake for Yamagami, but his luck isn't done yet. Today is the 333-year anniversary of this liquor store, and Minato is the 303rd customer. As a gift, they give him a special sake set worth a lot of money. Minato says that something odd is definitely going on because he kept winning stuff after that. He's been winning stuff all day, and he wonders if this new luck has to do with Yamagami's power. Yamagami reveals that it's not him, and it's actually someone else. Minato sees that a tortoise has appeared, and Yamagami explains that it's the divine tortoise named Reiki. The 4 holy beasts are the mythical creatures that bring people luck. Reiki is one of them, and he told Yamagami that Minato helped him. Minato has no clue what he's talking about, and he wonders if the old tortoise is mistaking him for someone else. Yamagami explains that it was when Minato banished an evil spirit in town. That weird orb that fell away was actually Reiki. Now Minato's string of luck is thanks to Reiki's power. Just then, Minato gets a call from his mother, who's very excited. Minato entered a sweepstakes before he moved out, and it turns out that he won. It's a huge prize of 1 million yen. Minato is absolutely stunned, and he thanks the divine tortoise. Yamagami points out that it seems like Reiki wants to live in the pond in Minato's backyard. Minato wonders if Yamagami would be okay with that, but he says that it's Minato's garden. The choice is his, so Minato says that he doesn't mind. Reiki's delighted to hear that he can stay, and he makes himself at home. One day, Minato wonders if Reiki would like some sake, and Reiki makes it very obvious that he does. Reiki starts getting hammered, and Minato tells him to have as much as he likes. Just then, a leaf appears, and Minato sees that it's filled with seeds. Yamagami says that it's a gift from Reiki, so Minato plans to plant them somewhere in the garden. Yamagami explains that they will grow very tall, and they pick a place to plant them. Minato wonders what kind of seeds they are, and Yamagami says that that's the kind of question he should ask before planting them. He declares that Minato will find out soon enough, and he says that he should look forward to it. A while later, Minato brings more cookies for the minions, and he's shocked when some other creatures ask if they can have some. Yamagami says hello to his old friends, and says that their names are Fujin and Reijin. Minato has heard these names before, and he wonders if this is really them. Yamagami confirms that they're the ones that have been pictured in scrolls and paintings for ages. They seem really friendly, so Minato tells them that they can have some cookies. As they eat, they wonder how Yamagami is still alive. He was really weak when they last heard about him, and they thought that his life ended. Yamagami says that he's far from it, and it would take much more than that to get rid of him. The minions don't want to share their cookies, and they wonder what these two are even doing here. They explain that they heard about this area becoming easier to live in, so they came to visit. Just like the rumors said, this place is nice and cozy. They notice the tortoise getting drunk, so Minato offers them some sake. After a while, they have their fill, and Minato's glad that they enjoyed it. Fujin enjoyed the sake so much that he comes up with an idea. As a thank you, he will let Minato use his power for a bit. Before Minato can even respond, Fujin transfers his power. A great power flows around Minato, and he wonders what just happened. Fujin reveals that Minato just received the power of wind. Minato wants to learn how to use it, so they tell him to picture himself creating wind. Minato focuses really hard, and he's amazed when it works. It's still only a light breeze, so the others tell him that he will have to train. Elsewhere, Harima encounters another evil spirit. He uses Minato's pentagram, and he easily defeats his enemy. Unfortunately, the pentagram is fading away, and its power is almost gone. This drawing allowed him to defeat evil easily, so he can't believe that Minato possesses so much power. Just then, Harima's associate named Ichigo screams in terror. Ichigo yells at his partner named Hirakawa because she's supposed to help him. It's too late as the monster moves in to end his life, but Harima arrives to rescue him. The others are stunned by how easily Harima defeated it, and Ichigo notices the paper he's holding. Afterwards, Hirakawa apologizes for freezing up. Ichigo tells her to be quiet, and he just wants to know if she figured out what they discussed earlier. Ichigo noticed that Harima has become much stronger recently, so he wants to find out where he got that shopping memo from. Hirakawa hasn't found anything, and she only knows that someone gave it to him. This infuriates Ichigo, and he says that she is useless. Hirakawa doesn't make it any better, as she wonders why Ichigo hates Harima so much. The only thing she can think of is that he's jealous of his power. Hirakawa rushes off, and Ichigo declares that he will never lose to Harima, no matter what. A while later, Minato says that he's glad that it stopped raining. Yamagami reminds him that rain doesn't affect the garden because it's sacred ground. Just then, Minato notices that the seeds he planted have grown quite a bit. There wasn't even a sprout the day before, so it's growing really fast. Yamagami reveals that it's the sacred tree of this residence, and it's called the Kusanagi. After watering the plant a bit, Minato gives Yamagami a snack from his hometown. They're called hot spring buns, and Yamagami loves them. Minato asks his mother to send him some stuff, and that includes a few clothes. The jacket makes Yamagami wonder if Minato is planning to climb a mountain. Minato reveals that he was actually thinking about climbing Yamagami's mountain. Yamagami's a mountain god, so Minato wants to properly pay respect to his mountain. Yamagami warns him that it won't be a leisurely hike to climb it. Minato already knows this, which is why he has some tough gear. Yamagami then explains that there's a small shrine halfway up the mountain. It shouldn't be too difficult to climb that far, so he says that Minato should go there. Minato agrees, so Yamagami tells him about the past. People used to visit the mountain all the time in the old days, but now it's completely deserted. Yamagami's still a bit concerned, so he says that he will have his minions accompany Minato. A while later, Minato's journey begins, and it turns out to be a lot tougher than he expected. The minions warn him to watch his step, and they cheer him on. They tell him that after he crosses the river, he will almost be at the shrine. After crossing it, Minato's amazed by what he sees. There's a giant tree, and the shrine is at the base. It's Yamagami's shrine, but there seems to be a mess around it. The minions say that Yamagami wouldn't hold it against Minato if he didn't clean, especially because he's so respectful to him in person. Minato can't help himself though, so he begins to clean around the shrine. It's thanks to this shrine that people were able to worship Yamagami in the past. The minions are inspired, so they help Minato. After a while, the shrine is clean, and they all enjoy a snack. Just then, they hear a terrifying sound in the distance, and the minions rush toward it. Minato follows them, and he sees a strange black haze. He wonders what it is, and the minions explain that it's an evil spirit. It tries to attack them, and the minions point out that the evil spirit is possessing someone. There is an impurity covering the entire area, and the minions wonder if Minato can see it. Minato can't see it because he can only see good things. However, if he can sort of see it, it must be a really bad evil spirit. The minions explain that because of the impurity, they can't approach any further. Minato remembers that he has his notepad, so he prepares to use it. He approaches the evil spirit, and the others tell him to be careful. Minato just barely manages to dodge an attack, and he realizes that this isn't going to work. Just then, he comes up with a brilliant idea. He tosses several pages from his notepad into the air and uses the power of the wind. The minions are shocked because he's combining his powers. The wind pushes all the pages, and Minato sends them into the evil spirit. The beast is destroyed, and another orb falls out of it. Everyone celebrates, and the orb transforms into a strange creature. Minato wonders if it's some kind of deer, but it just runs away when he gets close to it. Minato is in awe of how fast it was, because it traveled so far in the blink of an eye. Minato's not upset about it leaving, and he's just glad that he could help. Afterwards, Yamagami says that he's grateful for Minato cleaning his shrine. Minato says it's no big deal, and he just wonders what that creature was. Yamagami's mysterious as always, as he says that Minato will find out soon enough. Just then, Minato notices that the tree has stopped growing. The minions remind him that it's a sacred tree, so it follows a different set of rules than a regular tree. Reiki seems to want something, and he points at the front door. Minato goes to see what it is, and he's shocked to find another creature. He wonders if it's the one he saved on the mountain, but it looks way different. Minato invites it inside, and Yamagami explains who this is. It's one of the 4 holy beasts, just like Reiki. This one is named Oryu, and it's just as powerful as the tortoise. Suddenly, Oryu flies over the tree. He lets out a loud roar, and Minato's stunned to see that the sky has been filled with clouds. It begins to rain, and Minato watches in disbelief as this rain is able to reach the sacred ground. The rain showers the sacred tree and causes it to grow much larger. The tree is huge now, and Oryu has something to say. The minions translate, and they explain that Oryu would like to live in this pond. Minato's okay with it as long as Reiki is, and Reiki's clearly on board. Moments later we see that Oryu also loves to drink. Reiki seems to be pretty happy as well now that he has a drinking buddy. Yamagami explains that the dragon is grateful for what Minato did. Minato is sure that he didn't do anything this time, so Yamagami explains what happened. Oryu was being possessed by an evil spirit, and Harima saved him by banishing it. The only reason Harima was able to do it was because of the pentagram that Minato drew. Sometime later, Harima visits Minato to buy some more talisman. They have done this a couple times now, and Minato thanks Harima for bringing a gift every time. Harima says that the pentagram worked way better than he could have ever imagined, but today he would like something different. He wants Minato to draw something called a grid crest, so Minato does just that. That night, a guy points out that Harima has been on fire lately. He's been exorcising tons of spirits, and it's all thanks to the blessed memos he keeps getting. The guy points out that the memos must be hard to handle because they're made of paper. They are flimsy, and they seem like they would be hard to throw. Harima agrees, which is why this time he asks for a business card type. Just then, the guy warns Harima that he needs to be careful. If other people find out about the guy selling him the memos, he will be getting a civilian in trouble. Unfortunately, he says that it might be too late. Ichigo saw the power already, and he really has some kind of grudge against Harima. Harima's shocked to hear this news, and the guy just hopes that nothing bad happens. Elsewhere, Minato walks through town, and he bumps into Ichigo. Ichigo gives him a mean look, and Minato wonders what's wrong with that guy. Ichigo has an evil smile on his face, and we see that he left something on Minato's back. A while later, Minato tries out using a few different types of writing tools. He determines that a brush-style pen feels the most right to him. Just then, Yamagami notices a floating piece of paper. He thinks about how a little earlier, Harima came to visit. Harima was worried that something might be going on, and he wondered if Minato noticed anything strange. Everything has been pretty normal for Minato, so Harima explained what was going on. He has a troublesome colleague who treats him like an enemy. This guy saw the talisman that Minato drew, and he's been acting suspicious ever since. Harima apologized and warned that this guy's name is Ichigo. He has been using Shikigami to keep tabs on Harima. Harima's been getting rid of them whenever he sees them, but he warned Minato to keep an eye out. Yamagami refuses to let some small fry bother Minato, so he destroys the Shikigami. Sometime later, we see that Ichigo used his Shikigami to find Minato's house. He plans to buy off all Minato's talismans, or make him create talismans exclusively for him. Just then, Horikawa hears a bell, and she's amazed by the aura surrounding Minato's house. Ichigo demands for Minato to come out because he came all this way to grace him with his presence. Horikawa becomes concerned because Ichigo is going way overboard as he prepares to kick the gate. This doesn't go well for him as he soon finds himself in a strange place. Horikawa is nowhere in sight, and Ichigo has no clue where he is. He runs in terror, but he never manages to get anywhere. Instead, he ends up tripping and losing his life. He eventually wakes up to find that he's back in front of the shrine from before. His watch has also turned back, so he wonders if it's broken. The wind around him begins to blow, and he is terrified by the sound of the bell. Back with our hero, he continues trying different types of writing tools. Yamagami casually looks at a magazine, and he's delighted to find that his favorite snack company just released a new product. The two of them go to the shop to buy it, and Minato points out that this is their first outing together. He feels pretty nervous about it, but Yamagami reminds him that only a select few can see him. Just then, some girl notices that something smells really nice. She says that it smells like the mountains, but her friends don't smell anything. An old woman can feel something, so she counts her blessings. This makes Minato wonder if pious people and people with pure hearts are the ones that can sense Yamagami. Minato wants to take a detour, so he takes Yamagami to a different shop. Minato wants to buy him a fancy serving bowl, but Yamagami says that he's fine with the bowl they have at home. Minato thinks that him drinking out of that bowl is awkward because a god like Yamagami deserves to use something more appropriate. Minato wants to buy him a cushion next, but Yamagami says that he doesn't need one. He is a mountain god, and centuries of living in the wilderness has made him tough. Yamagami completely changes his mind, however, when he feels how comfortable the cushion is. This one is a little too small, so Minato says that they will order a custom-made one. They finally arrive at the snack shop, and the guy recognizes Minato as the person that moved in near the mountain. Yamagami has a request, so he tells Minato to tell the guy not to use chunky bean paste in the new product. After giving the snacks, the man wonders if Minato has been up the mountain yet. Minato confirms that he has, so the guy then asks if he has seen something up there. Minato doesn't understand, so the guy reveals that he's talking about the holy dog in the mountain. Yamagami's insulted because he's actually a wolf, and Minato says that he hasn't seen anything like that. The guy explains that on that mountain lives a benevolent and generous holy dog. When this guy was younger, he got lost on the mountain and found a small shrine. Before he could get close to it, a giant dog appeared and it barked at him. He ran for his life, only to have the dog find him and bark at him again. The kid kept running, and the god just kept barking at him. Eventually, he found his way off the mountain, and that's when he realized something. The dog wasn't tormenting him, it was actually showing him the way off the mountain. Out of gratitude, the man now calls him the Holy Dog. As a thank you for helping him, he goes to the shrine often to offer some snacks. After they leave, Minato says that he noticed that the shop owner looked much better than he used to. Yamagami explains that due to the pains from his internal organs, the shop owner quit eating fried food, which was his favorite. His morale was down, and both his body and spirit were weakened. Unfortunately, even a god like Yamagami cannot bend the mechanics of human death. However, he does have incredible powers, so he gave the shop owner his healthy body back so he could enjoy his final moments. Minato's amazed because the shop owner's revitalization is because of Yamagami's powers. When they return home, Minato heads off to take a shower while Yamagami prepares to snack on the new product. He looks at a chime and he says that things are going perfectly. Just then, Ichigo wakes up and once again finds himself in front of the shrine. He blames Harima for getting him trapped here, but he wonders if it was actually someone from Minato's house. He keeps hearing the terrible ring of the chime, and his life comes to an end once again. His life keeps ending in different ways, and each one is more terrifying than the last. Eventually, he's exhausted, and he begs for this to end. This only leads him to reviving again, and he wonders if this will repeat forever. This time, he looks at the shrine, and he begins to apologize. He's sorry for everything he has ever done, and he begs to be taken back to his world. He takes back any disrespectful act he has ever shown the mountain, and he continues to plead for forgiveness. After begging nonstop, Ichigo's stunned to find that he has been returned to this world. He asks Horikawa how many days she's been waiting for him to get back, but she has no clue what he's talking about. They just got here a few minutes ago, and nothing's happened. Minato's chimes blow in the wind, and this triggers something in Ichigo. He has serious trauma attached to that sound now, so he runs for his life. The chimes keep making noise, and Yamagami just tells their unwanted visitors to go away already. He tells Minato that the snacks are delicious, and Minato's glad to hear that their little trip was worth it. He had a good bath, but he says that he misses the hot spring from his home. Yamagami listens closely, and he gets an idea. A while later, Minato is shocked to find that there's now a hot spring in his garden. Yamagami invites him in, so Minato thanks him for what he's done. He wonders where the tortoise and the dragon are, so Yamagami assumes that they're asleep at the bottom of the pond. He reveals that the three of them stayed up all night creating this hot spring and getting drunk. Minato really loves the hot spring, so he reminds himself to thank the others later. After their bath, one of Yamagami's minions informs him that they have a problem. It's another visitor, and Oryu confirms that it's someone they know. At the front door, Minato sees the creature that he first saw on the mountain. This thing is really shy, so the minions have to speak for it. The creature wants to know if it can come inside Minato's garden, and Minato says that it's okay. His name is Kirin, and he stutters like crazy when he tries to speak. The minion translates again, and reveals that Kirin just wants to thank Minato for helping him the other day. Thanks to him, he was able to regain his sense of self. He is grateful beyond words, and he will never forget Minato's kindness. Minato keeps telling him that it was no big deal, but Kirin keeps thinking of different ways to say thank you. 30 minutes later, we see that Kirin's still going. 30 minutes after that, Kirin shows no signs of slowing down as he's now moved on to discussing all sorts of things. Finally, he finishes up by saying that he wants to give Minato a small token of gratitude. He says that he will make Minato a ruler with half the world under his control. Minato can't even imagine what that would be like, and he humbly declines. Kirin can't comprehend why he wouldn't want to rule half the world, and he points out how bad humans are. They are wretched and savage creatures who fight over land and resources and eliminate their own kind. The other gods explain that Minato doesn't have that kind of greed. They get Kirin to calm down, so Minato thanks them. Minato notices that these two have gotten bigger, so they explain that they're returning to what they're supposed to look like. It's all thanks to Minato, but Minato points out that he hasn't done anything. They reveal that it's simply because he acknowledges them. He also respects them, so that fortifies their presence in this world. As a thank you, they give Minato a yummy dish. Afterwards, Minato uses the power of the wind, and Fujin is glad to see that he has better control of it now. However, he can tell that Minato is suppressing his power. He wonders if Minato is scared because he's worried about harming others. Luckily, Fujin has a solution for this. If Minato uses the full force of his power just one time to learn what its limit is, it might help him control it more easily. Before he can test it out, Minato gets a message from his mom. The nameplates Minato made got wrecked and the spares were destroyed. She urgently needs him to make some more, so Minato gets to work. As he prepares, Yamagami points out that it's strange for nameplates to get broken. It keeps happening at his mom's house, so Yamagami determines that someone must be breaking them. Minato can't think of anyone that would do that, so Yamagami says that there must be a non-human living there. This makes Minato remember that little girl that he saw when he was a kid. Yamagami explains that the spirit must be telling them that the effect of the nameplate has expired. Minato remembers that long ago, there was a time when the nameplate kept falling over and over again. It makes sense that the spirit was telling them to replace it by breaking it. Yamagami explains that the power imbued in the nameplate Minato created was protecting his home. Minato realizes that he needs to make some more and send them home immediately. Minato wants them to last longer, so he wonders if he can make them better than before. Yamagami gets an idea and says that he should get an upgrade to his banishing power. That way he can imbue even greater power into his nameplate. To do this, he will first have to strengthen his wind power. This could be dangerous, so Yamagami says that he will take Minato somewhere more appropriate so he can test his ability. Minato's then shocked when he finds that his back gate is actually a portal to another area. Yamagami reveals that this place is the sacred ground created by his minions. Here, Minato won't have to worry about anything, and he can unleash his full power. Minato doesn't want to wreck the trees, but Yamagami tells him not to worry because they're fake. Minato can simply forget his fear and put all his effort into releasing his power. Back home, Kirin realizes that Minato's not here. He sees Minato much differently than the others, as he assumes that he's out hunting for the heads of his kind just for fun. Since Minato's not here, Kirin leaves a token of his appreciation. Reiki and Ryu serve as the protectors while he's gone, and they get rid of Kirin's gift. They are furious at Kirin for bringing trash here while the man of the house is away. Kirin is insulted as he points out that it's fruit, but they still tell him to take it with them. Back through the portal, everyone watches closely as Minato gets ready to release all his power. He tells himself to give it everything he's got, and a huge gust of wind covers the area. Wind flies everywhere, and the minions have to hold on for dear life. Just then, Minato exhausts himself, and he passes out. When he wakes up, Yamagami explains that Minato exerted his power all at once. He was supposed to unleash it in a controlled way, so Minato realizes that he needs to do more training. Several days then pass as Minato trains himself and makes more nameplates. Eventually, Yamagami's delighted because Minato's now able to imbue stronger power than before. Elsewhere, Ichigo finds himself wondering where he is again, as he finds himself in another nightmare. Sometime later, Minato uses his wind ability to finish cleaning the leaves around his house. Yamagami says that he's pleased to see how much better Minato has gotten at handling it. Minato is still humble about it, and says that he still wouldn't dare to compare himself to Fujin. Fujin disagrees though, and says that it's actually quite impressive. He points out that Minato is putting the fruits of his training into action, and Minato thanks him for the help. He still wants to train more, so Fujin tells him to do his best. Fujin then jokes that if he keeps it up, he will eventually be strong enough to cleave the house of someone he doesn't like in two. Minato's quick to point out that he's not that aggressive. Reijin then wonders if he should give Minato his power next, but Minato politely declines. Minato then wonders where the minions are, so Yamagami reveals that they're also training. We see that Seri has gathered Torika and Notsugi for a training session of their own. Seri explains that what they lack is mental fortitude, and they must face themselves. She declares that they will start by meditating immediately. Yamagami explains that when they encountered the impurity on the mountain alongside Minato, they were completely helpless, and it must have really bothered them. Minato's touched to see that the little guys are doing their best as well. A while later, everyone gathers in the garden for a nice time together. Minato gives Yamagami a roasted sweet potato, and Yamagami says that roasting them in the garden has its own charm. Minato agrees, and he checks in with the dragon to see what it thinks. Yamagami translates and says that Ryu finds it wonderful. Minato then notices that Reikai prefers the sweet potato over the actual roasted potatoes, so he tells him to enjoy. Minato then invites Fujin and Reijin to help themselves as well. Reijin says that they can make roasted sweet potatoes whenever they want, so Fujin offers to show Minato how they do it. Reijin then uses his lightning to roast a sweet potato, but the result is not what Minato was hoping for. It's completely burnt, and Reijin tells him not to sweat the small stuff. Just then Kirin appears, and Minato is surprised to see him back from traveling around the world. Minato thanks him for always bringing rare fruits, and he invites him to join them for some roasted potatoes. Kirin hesitates though, and from his point of view he's thinking about how humans have burned their own kind at the stake since ancient times. He still sees Minato as someone to be feared, so he is terrified that he might be putting him under the same kind of treatment. Minato can't quite figure out why Kirin won't join them, but Yamagami reveals that Kirin actually likes beer. Minato makes a mental note to have some ready for the next time he comes around. Just then the doorbell rings, and Minato goes to answer it. He's surprised to find Harima at the door, and even more surprised by the state he's in. Harima is completely exhausted, and he can barely stand. Minato brings him inside, and Harima immediately notices that the pressure around Minato's house is even stronger than usual today. This is because of all the spirits that live here now, but Minato tells him that he's just imagining it. Minato brushes it off, and Harima gets straight to the point. He has a very special favor to ask, and Minato tells him to go ahead as long as it's something he can actually do. Harima explains that there's an evil spirit so powerful that his entire team combined cannot defeat it. He's asking Minato to go somewhere and banish it himself. Harima then explains the entire story behind it. It all started with a doll that was brought to a temple for purification. The person with the power of purification had passed away, so the doll could not be cleansed. Before anyone knew what was happening, the doll transformed into an incredibly powerful evil spirit. Harima believes that the true identity of this evil spirit must have originally been some kind of deity. The spiritual disturbance it's causing is so overwhelming that even trained exorcists like Harima and his colleagues cannot get anywhere near it. Minato wonders why he specifically would be the one to help, and Harima explains that the temple exists in a special space that is not of this world. In this way, it's similar to Minato's garden. Because Minato's able to live here and is essentially accepted by this place, Harima believes that he might be able to enter the other world where this evil spirit is hiding. Harima also points out that Minato seems to be able to see the gods and divine beasts that live in this residence, which is proof of his special abilities. Yamagami overhears this, and he is not happy. He makes his presence known in a very dramatic fashion, and he tells Harima to know his place. The force Harima feels terrifies him, and even the minions think that Yamagami overdid it a bit. Minato rushes to check on Harima and assures him that everything's okay. Once Harima settles down, Minato turns to Yamagami and asks if he can use his power to enter the other world. Yamagami says of course he can, reminding everyone that he is a mountain god. Minato is relieved to hear that he will help, but Yamagami says that there's one condition. The condition turns out to be that Harima has to bring some good sweets. Harima obliges, and Yamagami is absolutely delighted when he tries them. He says that the rice cakes and bean paste from the shop are simply exquisite. With the one condition fulfilled, Minato prepares to head out. However, Yamagami then reveals that he himself will not actually be going. Minato's confused because he thought that they would use Yamagami's power to get there together. Yamagami explains that he will send his minions in his place, and the three of them eagerly step forward. They have just finished their training and they're ready to show off. Sari declares that they are not what they used to be, and Tarika says that they will help Minato get through this. Yamagami explains that this kind of mission is beneath him, and he wants his minions to show off the fruits of their hard work. Everyone cheers, and Minato says that they're very dependable. He tells Yamagami and the others to watch the house while he's gone, and they head out. When they arrive at the town, Minato leads the group, and they try to figure out where exactly they need to go. Things get a little off track when a vendor offers freshly baked apple pies. The minions immediately lose focus and rush over to try one. They're absolutely blown away by how good they are, and they all start raving about it. Minato tells them to finish quickly so they can come back and buy more to take home. Just then, Minato spots a crow nearby and notices that it seems to be trying to show them the way. He suggests following it, and sure enough, it leads them directly to the entrance of the other world. It's only a little further up ahead, and Minato says that he will go first. The atmosphere is very heavy, and even the crows are staying far away from the entrance. Tarika points out that it's an unbelievable level of impurity, and even Minato, who can only see good things, can partially sense this one. He calls Harima on the phone to let him know that they have arrived. Harima and his team are waiting at the back gate, and they confirm that they're unable to get any closer due to the intensity of the impurity. Harima tells Minato not to push himself, and if things get really bad, he should just run. Minato finds that he can't even touch the gate as it shocks him when he tries. The minions create a way in by pushing the door open, and they all step through together. Inside, they find the main culprit hiding inside a house. Before they can reach it, they're attacked by a swarm of spirits that come flying at them from every direction. Minato tells everyone to get behind him, and he uses his power to fight them off. More of these evil dolls appear, and everyone can tell that things are about to get bad. The minions jump into action as well, and the training they did has clearly paid off. They start fighting much more effectively than before, and they start knocking the dolls back one by one. Utsugi in particular is having a great time and starts celebrating a little too early. Sari and Tarika warn him not to let his guard down, but one of the dolls catches him off guard. The other minions spring into action, and they rescue their friend. Minato catches Utsugi and makes sure everyone's okay before pushing forward. Just then, the main evil doll finally emerges from the house. The sound it makes is terrifying, and the amount of impurity coming off of it is completely off the charts. The minions are stunned by just how intense it is, and Tarika wonders if this is really the one responsible for all of this. The minions declare that they need to finish this fast before the apple pies sell out. Minato shows off his new control over his powers as he uses his wind to throw his talisman at the doll. This enemy's really powerful though, as it destroys his talismans and strikes all the minions at once. It then manages to capture Minato, and he finds himself in serious trouble. He's barely holding on, and in his mind he calls out to Yamagami. Just then, the minions rush to his side and tell him to pull himself together. They are here for him, and they're not leaving without him. Suddenly, a howl echoes through the other world, and the minions immediately recognize it as Yamagami. Yamagami's watching from afar, and he sends power to the minions remotely. This gives them enough power to push the doll back, and they free our hero. Minato then uses his ink brush to write on the doll, and he finally frees it of the impurity. Unfortunately, not everything has been exorcised yet, as there's still a lot of evil coming out of the house. Inside, they find the real cause of everything that's been happening. The minions explain that this is a former mountain god, and it seems to be in a lot of pain. This will all be over once Minato purifies it. Minato finds that he's run out of talismans, but he remembers that he still has his notepad. He quickly begins writing new talismans and tries to use it on the dark spirit. Unfortunately, it doesn't work, so he desperately searches for something else he can use. Just then, this other world starts to crack and break around them. Utsugi suddenly notices that Minato has leaves on him and points it out excitedly. Minato looks down and recognizes that they are leaves from the Kusanagi tree. Sari immediately points out that since the Kusanagi is a sacred tree, its leaves must carry power too. Minato realizes that this is exactly what he needs. Even though he's completely exhausted and on the verge of collapsing, he tells himself that he's going to see this through. He writes his family name on the Kusanagi leaf and uses it against the spirit. This releases an incredible power, and the evil spirit is finally purified. Unfortunately, they're running out of time as this other world is about to collapse. Outside, Harima's worried about Minato, and his team has to stop him from risking his life to save him. Back inside, Minato and the minions run for their lives. At this rate, they will disappear with this world, so they have to run to the exit. Just then, a giant tree is about to crush them, but something snaps it in half. Unfortunately, our heroes still fall into a giant crack. When they wake up, they realize that they have returned to their world. Utsugi cheers, while Toriko wonders how they managed to escape. Just then, Fujin and Reijin reveal that they were the ones that helped them. Back home, Harima approaches Minato and thanks him sincerely. Minato says that he's glad he could help, and Harima asks him to relay his gratitude to the gods as well. Minato thanks Harima for always being so kind, and he invites him to stay for a barbecue. Harima's in a hurry though, so he has to decline, and he heads off. In the garden, Yamagami enjoys his sweets, and declares once again that smooth bean paste takes the crown over chunky any day. Minato announces that Harima sent sweets for everyone, so all the minions gather around excitedly. Minato offers Fujin and Reijin some cold sake, which they happily accept. Just then, Kirin appears nearby, and Minato calls out to him. He tells Kirin that he has beer ready for him, just like he promised, and he invites him to join everyone. Kirin is immediately interested when he hears the word beer, and he comes closer for the first time. This does not sit well with Reikai and Ryu, however, as they immediately recognize the fruit that Kirin has brought with him again. They enter a fierce battle as they throw the fruit back and forth. Reikai tells Kirin furiously not to bring trash into the sacred garden, and Ryu agrees that he can't stand the foul odor. Kirin refuses to let them insult it, and he insists that it's a respectable piece of fruit. The argument continues, with all three of them going back and forth, and no one willing to back down. As all of this plays out, Minato quietly goes over to thank the Kusanagi tree for the leaves it provided. Utsugi notices that something's happening to the gem they purified, and points it out to the others. It hasn't done much since they brought it here, but it begins to glow. When the light fades, a small chick appears. Yamagami announces that this is the last of the forest spirits, and its name is Ho. It was Ho that had been possessed by the evil spirit, and it's now free thanks to Minato. Minato looks at the little chick, and he's completely overwhelmed by how adorable it is. He tells Ho that he's glad they could help, and he warmly welcomes it to the garden. Later, Minato gives Yamagami a new snack. Yamagami is completely blown away by the taste, and he describes it as having a plump and juicy flesh with a sinful flavor. Minato's amused that the snack was impressive enough to get a mountain god to use modern vocabulary. Just then, Minato notices something going on in the garden, and he wonders what's happening. The newest member of their garden is making a bunch of gestures at a group of birds. Yamagami explains that it's the outdoor classroom of Ho-Oh. Minato is surprised because Ho-Oh is teaching Japanese bush warblers how to chirp properly. Ho-Oh is taking this very seriously and is coaching each bird individually. He tells one of them that the first Ho needs to be more relaxed and has them try again. The bird does a great job, so Ho tells it to consider itself praised before calling on the next bird. That bird does a good job too, so he praises that one as well. The last bird completely botches its chirp, and Ho is not impressed at all. He tells it that everything about that was wrong and demonstrates how it should sound. The other birds watch in amazement as Ho does his elegant chirp. Minato is happy to see that Ho is so popular and always surrounded by everyone. A look around shows everyone enjoying the beautiful day. It's extremely peaceful, and Minato declares that spring has come. However, we see that in the sky, a mysterious portal has opened. Meanwhile, we see that Harima and Katsuragi are out on the field dealing with a bunch of spirits. Harima wonders how things are going, and Katsuragi points out that there are a ton of spirits left. This is what he refers to as the Spring Evil Spirit Fest. Apparently, spring is a busy season for evil spirits, and the two of them have their hands full. Harima points out that even dealing with the smaller ones chips away at their spiritual powers over time. Katsuragi's not fazed though, and he tells Harima to leave it to him. He uses his shark-like Shikigami and tells them to eat their fill. The first one does a good job taking out an evil spirit, but Harima points out that there are more. Katsuragi then calls on his support number 2, which turns out to be a penguin. This penguin is an absolute beast, and Katsuragi praises his creatures for a job well done. Just then, Harima receives a message saying that another evil spirit has appeared. Meanwhile, Minato heads home from his shopping trip with Ho-Oh. He has souvenirs for everyone, and he tells Ho-Oh that they should get going. Just then, some passersby spot Minato and start whispering. One of them recognizes him as the Bird Whisperer, and the others are amazed that they're seeing him in person. Minato has no idea what they're talking about, but before he can even process it, a huge crowd of birds start gathering around him. Everyone starts taking photos, and Minato's completely overwhelmed. After he gets away, Minato says that this always happens whenever he's with Ho-Oh. On his way home, Minato runs into the gardener that worked on his garden. He has trimmed a hedge into the shape of a clay figure, and he proudly shows off his latest creation. Minato says it's rather unique, and the gardener explains that the homeowner gave him free reign to do whatever he wanted. The gardener says that he's been on a roll ever since he worked on Minato's garden. Just then, he notices all the birds that have been following Minato, and he's completely baffled by the sight. Minato awkwardly tells him to have a good day and makes a quick exit before things get more complicated. Back at the house, the minions arrive looking panicked. Sari and Itsugi tell Yamagami that there are a bunch of abandoned kami realms spreading through the mountain. To make things even worse, Minato hasn't come back from shopping yet. They look to Yamagami for what to do, and he tells them not to panic. He thinks about the situation and determines that there are too many for the minions to handle on their own. Yamagami then announces that he will take care of it himself. The minions follow his lead excitedly, and they all head out together. Nearby, Minato notices that all the birds are suddenly gone, and he wonders if something happened. Fujin and Reijin appear and tell him to get home as soon as possible. Minato asks why, and Reijin explains that there's an outbreak of abandoned kami realms and evil spirits. Minato has never heard the term abandoned kami realms before, so Fujin explains. Kami is a word that refers to deity spirits and other supernatural phenomena. There are millions of kami in the world, and even more kami realms or sacred grounds that exist. Some of the realms end up being abandoned by the kami that created them. Just then, one of the realms opens near them, and Reijin has to destroy it. Reijin explains that portals to these abandoned realms can appear anywhere, whether on the ground, in the air, or even in the water. The portals move around, and humans can get pulled into them. This phenomenon is what people call being spirited away. Minato finally understands, and he realizes that that's why the birds stop following them. Fujin tells Minato that he seems awfully relaxed about this, and warns him that he should actually be the most vigilant of anyone. Reijin explains that Minato's affinity with kami is extremely high because he not only lives in the sacred ground, but he also bathes in Yamagami's hot spring. All of this makes him especially susceptible to being pulled into a kami realm. If he gets pulled into a particularly bad one, he might not be able to get out of it by himself. Minato understands completely, so he says that he will be careful. Fujin then reveals that Yamagami has also gone out to deal with the abandoned realms himself. Yamagami hasn't really used his powers since they met, so this tells Minato just how serious the situation is. Fujin and Reijin tell him to be careful one last time, and then they head off. Minato's worried now, so he tells Ho-Oh that they're going to take a shortcut home. On the mountain, Yamagami sees just how bad the situation is. The minions point out that there are a lot more portals now, and they are headed towards Minato's house. They have to deal with this right now, so Yamagami tells everyone to split up. On the way home, Minato notices a very rundown building that looks like a shrine. Something feels off, and he thinks he hears a voice telling him to stay away. He looks over to Ho-Oh and wonders if the bird said something, but Ho-Oh didn't say a word. Minato figures he must have imagined it, but something begins to bang on the door of the shrine. The door bursts open, and Minato starts getting pulled inside. The force is too powerful for him to fight, so Ho-Oh springs into action. Minato wonders what he's doing, and he is stunned when Ho-Oh transforms. He looks like a giant phoenix now, and he lets out his loudest chirp yet. This doesn't accomplish anything, as Minato and Ho-Oh both get pulled into the portal. When everything settles, Minato finds himself in a strange place. He doesn't know where he is, but it feels like when he stepped into a kami realm before. It's kinda hard to breathe in here, so he wants to find the exit as soon as possible. After walking around, he notices some wooden boxes on the ground. There are a lot of them, and this makes him remember something Yamagami told him. He said that kami realms reflect the minds of their creators. It's a replica of the space that they find most comfortable. There are tons of wooden boxes everywhere, so Minato determines that the creator of this realm must really love them. Just then, Minato finds the entrance to a cave. The air is really bad inside, but he explores it anyway. He notices someone in the distance, and he wonders if it's the god that created this kami realm. It's a girl, and she wakes up annoyed. She grumbles about how dreary and muggy the air is, and it's not letting her sleep. She complains that the place needs to be ventilated, but she doesn't want to bother doing it herself. She just wants to sleep all day and cannot be motivated to move. Minato politely introduces himself and asks if she's the creator of this kami realm. She confirms that she is, and she seems mildly curious that a human managed to end up here. She also notices Ho-Oh, and she recognizes him as another god. She then points out that Minato seems to have a whole lot of protection around him, and she wonders why he came here since she didn't summon him. Minato honestly tells her that he's not sure. She wonders if he is lost and says that that is strange because the portal should have been completely closed. Minato then explains what is happening outside. A lot of portals to abandoned kami realms have been opening up and causing problems. The girl is immediately offended and insists that she did not abandon this place. She then pauses and wonders out loud if her power may have gotten weaker. Minato mentions that the shrine he passed on the way in looked very run down. The girl looks at it herself and she realizes that he is right. Her shrine is an absolute mess and she can only wonder when it happened. She determines that she overslept, but she quickly moves on. Minato is then surprised when she knows that he's connected to Fujin in some way. Minato wouldn't say that they're connected, but the girl can tell that he has Fujin's power. She is amused that a shrewd character like Fujin would give his power to a human. Just then, she asks Minato for a favor. Since he has Fujin's power, she wants him to use it to ventilate her space. The air here is really stale, and she can't take it anymore. Minato feels bad for her, so he says that he will give it a try. She wonders when was the last time she ventilated, and realizes that it goes way back. It was during the Tang Dynasty, and Minato says that that was over 1,000 years ago. The girl thanks him for agreeing to help, and she goes back to bed. Minato takes this opportunity to try and make a deal with her. He will clean up this place and ventilate it, and in exchange she will help him find the exit. She agrees, and Minato can't believe it. The girl gets insulted, and she wonders if she looks like an irresponsible deity. She kind of does, but Minato agrees to do the work anyway. Before he starts, the girl tells him that he should also throw all the wooden boxes into a portal. Minato springs into action, and he uses his wind ability to move all the boxes. He sends them through the portal just like she wants, and she says that this is quite the view. While all of this is happening, Yamagami and the minions are working hard on the mountain. The minions destroy several portals, but one of them comes crashing down. Yamagami says that they're being really noisy, and he wonders how things are going. The minions explain that they took care of the portals in every direction, so Yamagami tells them that they did a good job. He declares that they have to help Minato now, but they don't know why. Yamagami can't believe that they haven't sensed it yet, and he reveals that Minato is trapped in a kami realm. The minions connect the dots, and they realize that the cry from Ho-Oh earlier must have been a warning. Seri says that they have to go at once, but more abandoned kami realms start appearing. They are continuing to spread towards Minato's house, and it's getting worse. Just then, Fujin and Raijin show up and offer their help. Yamagami thanks them and tells the minions to leave this place to them. Yamagami stays behind, and the minions go to rescue Minato. Fujin and Raijin tell Yamagami that he can take a break, but he is insulted. He uses a powerful attack instead and wipes out a ton of portals. They tease Yamagami by saying that this reminds them of when he used to be wild and when he was erupting all the time. It's been 1,000 years since then, so Yamagami tells them to stop talking nonsense. Back inside the kami realm, Minato finishes cleaning up all the wooden boxes and tosses the last one into the portal. He wonders what the girl thinks, and she wakes back up. The space looks way better now, and she says that it's finally uncluttered. The air is still stale, but Minato has a plan. He pulls out some leaves from the Kunesaki tree and uses them to clean the air. The girl wonders why he just had those on him, and he explains. He has been carrying them ever since they saved him the other day. Minato thanks the leaves and tells them that they did a good job. The girl can immediately tell the difference in her space, and Minato's glad that he could help. She noticed that he had more leaves with him, so she wonders if she can have some. Minato happily gives them to her, and she says that they smell really nice. As a thank you for everything he has done, she tells Minato that she will give him some of her power. She gives them to him and explains that it's the power to seal things. Minato wonders what kind of things, and she says things that cannot be seen. Things like people's feelings, troublesome desires, and supernatural powers. He can now seal things like that in whatever vessel he chooses. Minato remembers the wooden boxes and realizes that those are what she's been using to seal things away for the humans who pray to her. She confirms that people pray to her about dreams they cannot let go of. They pray for her to seal away their jealousy, resentment, and supernatural powers that they can't handle. She listens and seals the things away in the wooden boxes. She then tells Minato that it doesn't have to be a wooden box, he can find whatever works for him. She also explains that it's completely up to him what he does with the power. He could even seal away the sealing power itself if he wanted to. He could seal it away and only release it with conditions. With enough training, anything is possible with this ability. Just as she finishes explaining, she starts to doze off. Minato panics and asks where the exit is before she fully falls asleep. She mumbles something about what an exit is and then goes completely silent. Minato accepts that she's out cold and he determines that he can't force her to wake up. He wonders what he should do, but luckily the minions appear before him. They bring him back outside and he thanks them for coming to get him. The minions apologize for being late and explain that they got held up by all the abandoned kami realms. Minato tells them about the deity he met and describes her as an extremely ancient and completely unmotivated goddess. Minato explains that he got the power to seal things, and the minions realize that the goddess must have been Amaterasu. Minato's completely stunned because that was nothing like what he imagined the famous Amaterasu to be. On the way out, Minato wonders how the minions found him. Sari explains that the voice of Ho-Oh gave them a good idea of where to look. Minato looks over at the sleeping Ho and says that he will have to thank him properly whenever he wakes up. Sari also mentions that he should thank the wind spirit as well. Minato's confused since he doesn't know what she's talking about. Tarika explains that the voice of the wind guided them to his location. Itsugi then asks Minato if he heard anything right before he got pulled in. Minato thinks back and remembers the voice he heard telling him to stay away. He realizes that the voice was actually trying to warn him that he was in danger. Sari says that it might still be hard for him to see them and hear them properly. The minions encourage him to focus and listen more carefully, so Minato takes a quiet moment to concentrate. After a moment, two spirits appear, and Minato hears a small voice saying that it's glad that he's okay. Minato wonders what it was, and Sari confirms that he heard them. It turns out that there are a bunch of wind spirits, and Minato thanks them all. Elsewhere, Harima and Katsuragi are wrapping up their work, but they encounter an unfamiliar man. He is the leader of a group of exorcists who tell the Yamnioji that they took care of the miasma in this area already. He points out that there's an unwritten rule that when exorcists are rooted in an area, Amnioji cannot banish spirits there. He dismisses the two of them politely, but there is something unsettling about the interaction. After they leave, Harima wonders who they were, and Katsuragi explains that they are disgraceful exorcists. They take on cases for outrageous fees, and that guy is their leader. Katsuragi doesn't like them, and he hopes that they're not up to something. When Minato finally makes it home, he calls out to Yamagami and says that he brought him something. He's surprised, however, to find that Yamagami has shrunk down to a very small size again. Yamagami explains that he overused his power dealing with all the abandoned kami realms. Minato immediately tells him to eat plenty and grow back to normal, and he pulls out all the Japanese sweets he brought for him. Yamagami tries them and says that this should bring him back to normal in no time. Minato can't help but say that this small form is actually quite adorable. He says that it's the perfect size to play with Dragon and Kirin. Yamagami tells Minato not to dare make fun of him because he is a mountain god. Later, Minato checks on Ho-Oh, who still hasn't woken up yet. He figures that Ho-Oh must have used too much of his power when he transformed back to his original state to call for help during their last mission. Yamagami tells Minato not to worry and assures him that Ho-Oh will wake up soon enough. He says that Ho-Oh is not the type to go down so easily, and Minato takes comfort in that. Minato then looks at some boxes and thinks about the sealing power that Amaterasu gave him. He wants to master it, and he has a very specific reason for doing so. If he can seal the power to exercise into something, it might be a way to help Harima and the others do their jobs more effectively. Yamagami finds the idea interesting and describes it as trapping and containing the power that Minato has been spewing out. Minato is already experimenting, and he tries using a wooden box the way Amaterasu did. He figures it's worth a shot, since she was clearly using them to seal things anyway. He asks Yamagami if it worked, but Yamagami's not impressed. He tells Minato that the power is overflowing like smoke and is not being contained at all. To actually seal it, Yamagami explains that Minato must see the image. Minato laughs because he said the word image wrong, and Yamagami gets defensive. He admits that Tarika told him that his pronunciation is horrible, and he's already aware of it. A while later, Minato brings Yamagami some snacks, and the two of them settle in like usual. Minato mentions that his training with the sealing power is still coming along slowly, and he has a long way to go. He then brings up a phone call that he just received. Someone who was interested in viewing the house canceled again, and this is now the third time that it has happened at the last minute. Yami points out to him that humans are often quite fickle. Minato wonders why the house is so hard to sell because from where he's standing, it seems like an incredible place. He jokingly describes it as a rural one-bedroom with a nice living area and a quiet beautiful garden that even comes with a Yamagami. Minato adds that he cleaned the house thoroughly and even had Japanese sweets ready for each viewing. Yamagami says that those sweets are now his since the viewing was cancelled. Yamagami then takes a moment to admire the colors of the spring treats. He describes the colors of the bush warbler and the light cherry blossom color of the buns as gentle and soft, truly representing the season. Yamagami is inspired, so he uses his power to give the garden a more springtime look. Minato is amazed because the garden has erupted into full cherry blossom bloom. Yamagami says that spring cannot begin without cherry blossoms. Minato then notices that Yamagami has shrunk down again, and he asks in concern if his body's okay. Yamagami explains that it will take a bit before he grows back to normal. Minato wonders how he made the blossoms bloom, and Yamagami simply says that he used his eyes. Minato is puzzled, but then he remembers what Amaterasu told him about finding what works for him. He suddenly has an idea, and he realizes that his regular notepads might be the vessel that works best for him when it comes to sealing his power. Yamagami says that it's only natural that some things will work for him and others will not. Minato prepares to test his theory by writing in his notepads to see if he can seal his power. He gets distracted though when the warblers are singing beautifully, and Minato says that the sounds are perfect for the spring garden. The peacefulness is interrupted though when one of the birds starts calling for its teacher. Their teacher is Ho-Oh, and he wakes up to answer the call. Ho-Oh gets right back to work and teaches his nervous students. Minato tells himself that he should work hard too, and Yamagami sits happily sipping his drink. Soon after, the minions grab Minato and drag him along for a bamboo shoot digging trip up on the mountain. Utsugi is very excited, and Tarika tells Minato to get himself together. Minato wonders what digging bamboo shoots has to do with training his sealing power. Sari explains that there are a lot of bamboo shoots on Yamagami's mountain, and that eating the fresh spring delicacy might give him more power. Minato hopes that they're right, and he follows the minions. Meanwhile, back at the house, Fujin casually reveals something interesting to Yamagami. It turns out that he was the one responsible for the house viewings being cancelled. Each time someone came to view the property, he chucked them into his kami realm for a while before releasing them. They were obviously terrified, and they never wanted to come back. Yamagami says that was a pretty mean thing to do. Reijin is quick to point out that Yamagami himself trapped the guy who tried to kick the gate. Fujin says that man fully deserved it, and that any human who dares kick the gate of the House of Kami should be groveling out of gratitude for being spared. Yami agrees, and Reijin says that they're both crazy. Just then they notice another abandoned Kami realm drifting toward the mountain, and Yamagami points out that Minato seems to be attracting it. Reijin handles it quickly with his powers, and then reflects on how strange this whole situation is. He says that in all his time, he has never seen a human that attracts Kami realms the way Minato does. He figures it's because despite being human, Minato lives in a Kami realm and spends all his time around gods, which has had some unusual effects on him. It's only logical that he would be closer to Kami than anyone else. Fujin wonders if he should give Minato a bit more power to protect him from getting pulled into a Kami realm again. Yamagami firmly tells him not to do that, because if they give him any more power, he will cease to be human. Fujin acknowledges this, and says that what matters now is how Minato uses the powers he already has. Up on the mountain, the group arrives at a great spot with tons of bamboo shoots ready to be dug. Minato's excited, but realizes that he forgot to bring a hoe since the whole trip was so last minute. As he gets ready to dig, a massive bear appears in front of him, and Minato freezes completely. He makes direct eye contact with the bear and panics internally as he wonders what to do. His life is in great danger, and he wonders if he should play dead. Before he can do anything, he hears Yamagami's voice. He is shocked to see the Yamagami speaking through Utsugi, who tells him not to worry. He explains that the bear is a gentle giant and there's nothing to fear. Minato is still surprised that Yamagami can speak through Utsugi, and Yamagami reminds him that these are his minions, so it's a piece of cake for him. The bear roars like a terrifying beast, but it's actually not mad at all. Sari translates for the bear and reveals that he's saying thank you for taking care of their chief. Yamagami clarifies that by chief, the bear means Kirin. Sari continues translating, and the bear says that he would love to show his appreciation. He ferociously uses his claws and rips out a bamboo shoot. Minato's a bit overwhelmed, and he says that he's really glad that the bear is on their side. The bear then generously digs up bamboo shoots for everyone and hands some to Minato. Minato realizes that he can sort of understand what the bear is communicating, and Sari's surprised to hear that. The bear tells them through Sari that the fresher the better, so they should eat them right there on the spot. Yamagami through Utsugi fully agrees and declares that eating freshly harvested food is a joy that cannot be replaced by anything else. Everyone agrees that this is the joy of seasonal produce. With the help of the bear, they prepare the bamboo shoots right there with some wasabi, and Minato hands Yamagami his portion. Minato then finally asks whether the bamboo shoot digging had anything to do with training his power. Yamagami casually admits that it had nothing to do with that at all. Minato can't believe it, and he accuses Yamagami of just wanting to eat bamboo shoots. Yamagami explains that Minato seemed to be pushing himself too hard, and he thought that a change of pace would do him good. Minato admits that he does feel calmer after being in the fresh, clean air. Also, because of their little trip, he noticed that he was able to communicate with animals a little. Yamagami tells him to try the bamboo shoots, and Minato takes a bite. The entire day is a great success, as he declares that they're absolutely superb. When they get home, Minato decides to play a game with Yamagami. He sets up a shogi collapse game and explains the rules. All you have to do is pull a piece out without making a sound. If you make a sound, you switch turns, and whoever has more pieces at the end wins. Yamagami says it sounds easy enough, so Minato warns him that it's surprisingly hard. The game doesn't go well for Yamagami at all, as we see that Minato has all the pieces. Yamagami is furious as he can't understand how this is possible, and he insists on having another round. The second round doesn't go well for him either, and he starts getting personally offended at the individual wooden pieces. He glares at them and demands to know who gave them permission to make a sound. He calls them silly pieces of wood, and he wonders where they get the confidence to defy him. Minato tells him not to break anything, so Yamagami gathers himself. The mountain god starts using his powers to get an advantage, so Minato has to tell him not to cheat. Yamagami denies cheating and says that it's just part of his training. The two begin to argue, but something happens in the garden. Something begins to glow, so Minato asks Yamagami about it. Yamagami says that sometimes things can get lost and find their way here, so it must be one of those. Before Minato can question further, a cheerful voice calls out, and a new figure comes floating in. This strange guy apologizes for interrupting, and he promises that he's not a shady character. He immediately introduces himself as someone who probably doesn't need an introduction, and reveals that he's called Ebisu. He is another kami, and he tells Minato to just call him Ebi. He knows all about Minato, because Minato is the person who has received powers. Minato looks to Yamagami for an explanation, but the mountain god is fast asleep. Minato greets his guest, and Ebi explains that he heard a rumor. It's about a strange human who's been receiving kami powers, and he wanted to come meet him in person. He says that Minato's garden is quite elegant, and Minato thanks him. Ebi then stares down Kirin, and Kirin angrily stares back at him. Ebi has no clue what this creature is, but what he does know is that he never wants to lose to whatever he's looking at. Ebi then notices the hot spring, and Minato invites him to use it. Ebi happily accepts, and he asks Yamagami for permission as well. Yamagami wakes up and tells him to do as he wishes. As a thank you, Ebi pulls out some taiyaki and hands them over for everyone else to share later. He makes sure to include some smooth paste for Yamagami, which Yamagami immediately appreciates. Ebi settles into the hot spring, and he notices something about Minato. He says that Minato is straying off quite a bit. Minato wonders what he means by straying off, but we don't get to hear the answer. A while later, Minato practices, and he feels like he's almost getting the hang of using the sealing power. Outside, Minato notices that a sun shower just passed, and when it clears, a new visitor appears at the garden. Minato is surprised to see that it's a fox spirit named Tsumugi. She says that she had no idea that a wonderful hot spring was so close by. Tsumugi wonders if this is Minato's residence, but he says that he's just the current custodian of this place. Minato can tell that she's interested in the hot spring, so he says that she can use it. Tsumugi declines because she's in the middle of an important errand. It's clear that she wants to soak in it, but she's just too formal to say so. Minato smiles and invites her to stay for lunch. Tsumugi completely lights up and can't believe that she's being offered a meal. She agrees to join them and introduces herself properly. She is the minion of the mountain god who resides in the mountain next to this mountain. Tsumugi then cannot stop herself from asking whether the food is homemade. She makes a point of saying that store-bought is wonderful too, but nothing quite beats homemade. Minato tells her that it's homemade with wild vegetables, and Tsurugi's overwhelmed. She says that food made with care by human hands is very valuable. Just then Yamagami wakes up, and Tsurugi goes to say hello. Yamagami tells her to eat first, and then she can soak in the hot spring later. Minato is stunned because Yamagami looks like a real god, and Yamagami says that it's only natural because he's the mountain god. Tsurugi's quick to point out that Yamagami is a rather high-ranking kami. At lunch, Tsurugi takes a bite and is completely floored by how good it is. The juice from the fried tofu skin spreads perfectly, and the seasoning is just right. After finishing, she declares that it was absolutely delicious. Tsurugi says that it's against her policy to owe a favor, so she insists on giving Minato a gift in return. She pulls out a glowing peach that was harvested from the garden at her master's mountain. She explains that it's technically for kami only, so Minato probably shouldn't eat it. However, it will never rot, and it smells wonderful, so he can use it as a decoration. Minato's in disbelief, and he wonders if he can really have something that is this special. Tsurugi also mentions that her master Kami entrusted her with it to prove that their garden is superior. Minato accepts the gift, and he asks Yamagami what he should do with it. Yamagami simply tells him that he will eat it later. Minato wonders if Yamagami knows Tsurugi's master, but he doesn't answer. Minato reminds Tsurugi that she can use the hot spring. Tsurugi wonders if Minato uses it to bathe, and he confirms that he does. She says that it makes sense, and it explains why Minato doesn't feel like a human. Tsurugi then enjoys the hot spring before leaving. Minato has come to realize that he is not like a human. He was always sort of aware of it, but now it's becoming more obvious. He determines that it's what Ebi mentioned earlier. He was saying that Minato is straying off from being human. Minato acknowledges that he's only a mere mortal, so it makes sense that he would be affected by spending all his time around gods. He then admits that he wants to master the sealing power, but he is scared of changing too much. Yamagami tells him to have no fear and assures him that even with powers, he is still himself. Minato then quietly asks if he will still be able to die as a human. Yamagami can tell how worried he is, and he simply says that he promises. He then tells Minato to give his training everything he has and to learn to wield his powers. He adds that the hint to unlocking the sealing power might be found somewhere in Minato's past. He points out that Minato has been able to see things that are not human since he was very small. Minato thinks back and remembers the first time that he saw one of these things. It was the little girl in his house, and it was when he was 5 years old. Minato explains that the first time he saw the girl was when he was 5 years old. He ran to tell his grandpa that the spirit gave him a 4-leaf clover. His grandpa could hear the girl, and he explained to Minato that she gave him the gift in return for the snacks he gave her. Minato became friends with her to the point where they would eat lunch together and even play games. His grandpa could see spirits that Minato couldn't, and they were all over the house. Grandpa was delighted to see that Minato was getting used to acting like a big brother. One day a spirit named Hihi took Minato's hat, and he wouldn't give it back. Minato immediately rushed to his grandpa to tell him that Hihi was being mean to him. Grandpa explains that the spirits are bored, so Hihi was toying with him to have fun. Minato was frustrated because that wasn't a good reason to be mean to him. Grandpa never babied Minato, so he told him that whether he can get along with the spirits was up to him. The next day, Minato tried to sneak by without getting his hat stolen, but Hihi managed to take it anyway. Minato, however, came prepared with a deal for Hihi. He said that if Hihi stopped playing tricks on him, he would give him a castella cake. Minato knew that he liked this kind of cake because he saw Hihi take one from the altar before. Hihi really wanted it, but Minato told him to give him his hat back first. The two made the exchange, and Hihi was really happy. Ever since then, Minato and Hihi became great friends. Unfortunately, it wasn't long after when Minato's grandpa passed away. Then one day something happened when Minato was in the 5th grade in elementary school. He was walking home with his friend Ranmaru, who complained about how hot it was. Minato told him to think about cold snacks like shaved ice and ice cream. Ranmaru was upset when it didn't work, but Minato was focused on something else. A giant terrifying beast appeared, and Minato remembered something that his grandpa told him. He warned Minato that whenever he encountered a yokai outside, he should run before they notice him. He made it very clear that not all yokai are friendly. This giant beast was obviously one to fear, so Minato told his friend that they should rush home. Ranmaru couldn't see spirits, so he didn't know why Minato was in such a rush. Minato said that he just wanted to run home to get ice cream, but Ranmaru pointed out that it was too hot to run. Minato only got more desperate as a giant beast reached out to grab his friend. Minato was horrified, as there was no way to stop the beast. Just then a mysterious man appeared and told them that it was too hot to play outside. Minato was stunned because the beast somehow disappeared. The guy was in search of a hot spring town, so Minato and his friend took him there. He hasn't booked a room for the night, so the guys told him that he might be out of luck. This town is very popular, so the rooms are usually fully booked. The guy has heard that all the inns are very cozy, so he wants to visit one. He says that he'll visit the inn that Minato's family owns and ask if anything is available. Minato was surprised, and he wondered how the guy knew that his home was an inn. The guy didn't answer, and he just went to see it. This mysterious guy ended up staying at the inn that was run by Minato's parents. Someone canceled the reservation at the last minute, and luckily for him, a room had opened up. For some reason, the yokai acted restless and stayed away from the room that the guy was staying in. One day, Minato was doing his homework, and the guy was there. The guy was glad when he saw Minato's handwriting because it was easy to read. He said that it was like Minato's pure and honest heart was within the letters. Minato had never heard that before, and the guy told him to make sure that he treasures his gift. Minato took what the guy told him to heart, and the nameplates that Minato made came out really well. Back in the present, Minato reflects on that memory. Now that he thinks about it, that mysterious guy must have known that his handwriting had the power to eliminate evil. Yamagami agrees and says that he was most likely what they call a traveling exorcist. Unlike Omnioji, these are regular people. However, this mysterious man from Minato's story obviously had significant power of his own. Minato says that explains why all the yokai stayed far away from him. Yamagami then steers the conversation back to the training, and he wonders how it's going. Minato almost forgot to mention it, but he's been practicing sealing the elimination power into a talisman. Yamagami points out that the secret to advancing in his training was in Minato's memories the entire time. Minato is confused, so Yamagami says that the exorcist saw what was at the very core of Minato's power. He reminds Minato of the man's words about a pure and honest heart being within the letters. Minato thinks about this, and it suddenly clicks. Yamagami also told him that the image is what mattered. Minato writes the word heart, and he gets ready to try something. If he imagines sealing his heart into the talisman, then maybe that's how it works. Minato tries it out, and the word heart begins to glow. After a moment, Yamagami compliments him on doing a good job. Minato wonders if it really worked, and Yamagami tells him that he finally succeeded. Elsewhere, two girls absolutely destroy some evil spirits. They obviously have incredible powers, as they make quick work of their enemies. Harima and Katsuragi arrive to ask the girls named Tsubaki and Fujino what the situation is. The girls say that they've been dealing with evil spirits, but they're running low on spiritual power and have done everything they can with their weapons. There are more spirits to fight, so they ask Harima for some of the Jade One's talismans. Harima hands a couple over, and the girls are amazed by them. Some other girls are being chased, and they need some talismans too. Harima gives them some, and they're able to defeat the spirits. The girls are saved, and they thank the Jade One. The girls start talking about what they're gonna do after the battle, but the responsible one reminds them that they have to wipe out the evil spirits. Harima only has one talisman left, so he will have to get more. The girls get really excited, because this means that he's going to see the person that is known as the Jade One. They all wonder what the guy's like, and if he's good looking. Fujino tells the girls to cut Harima some slack because he has no understanding of what makes a man handsome. Harima arrives at Minato's house, and he is shocked when he feels an immense pressure. It's taking everything he has just to stand, and he wonders if this pressure is coming from multiple kami. Minato then greets Harima and wonders if he's alright. Harima collects himself and brings up the talisman that he wanted to ask for. Just then, Harima notices some splashing in the pond, and he wonders if the spirits are raging out of anger. It's actually just a Rio annoying Reikai like always, but Minato doesn't know exactly how to explain that. He tells Harima not to worry about it, but Harima is shocked. The spirit animals in his garden are raging, and he can't believe that Minato isn't even batting an eye. Minato hands over the new talismans and explains that he received a new power recently. He says that using it, he sealed the elimination power directly into the talismans. This means that the power will not leak out, and its effect should last much longer than before. Harima's very grateful, and he's eager to see how it goes. Minato notices that Harima looks exhausted, and Harima confirms that the outbreak of evil spirits has been relentless. Just then, Fujin and Raijin drop by to see what's going on. They notice right away that Harima looks completely worn out. They feel bad for him. Reijin suddenly gets an idea and suggests that he give Harima an electric shock to help him recover. Minato tells Harima that Reijin wants to shock him and he doesn't know what to make of it. Before he can answer, Reijin sneaks up behind him. Reijin hits him with a jolt and it's obviously way too much. Harima passes out and Reijin wonders if he overdid it. After Harima leaves, Minato hopes that he's doing well. Yamagami tells him not to worry because the rest is up to Harima. As they walk home, Minato senses that the air feels strangely heavy. Before he can do anything, they both get pulled into an abandoned kami realm. Inside, Yamagami's mad at himself for being distracted by the thought of eating some new snacks. Minato knows these places well, so he realizes that this is the kami realm of a god that has fallen. Yamagami says that it was created by someone who's not that strong. Minato wonders how they're going to get out, and Yamagami tells him to use the power of the wind to tear open the space. Before Minato does it, he stops and wonders what will happen to the kami that created this realm. Yamagami explains that if it's left abandoned, the impurity will keep building and eventually start affecting the surrounding area. Minato stops his ability, and Yamagami can tell that Minato can't bring himself to just leave it. He can't just let the impurity affect the area, so Minato says that they should find the kami. Eventually, they find a sword stuck in the ground, and Minato wonders if this is the kami. Minato assumes that it must be the god of swords, but Yamagami corrects him. Man-made objects are not natural dwellings for divine spirits. What they are looking at is a divine spirit that was channeled into a sword by humans. Minato can feel something tight in his chest when he looks at it, and he wonders if it's angry. Yamagami says that it appears so, and he wonders if Minato wants to eliminate it. Minato thinks it over, and he can tell that the kami is angry because it wasn't respected. Yamagami wonders why he thinks that, and Minato points out that the sword is rusty all over. He says that if the sword had been cherished and worshipped properly, it would not look like this. He tells Yamagami that he doesn't want to eliminate it, and he's going to try to purify it with the new talisman instead. Minato gives it a try, and power erupts everywhere. The impurity coming off of the sword is absolutely incredible, but Minato's not giving up. Yamagami points out that a normal talisman would have already lost its effectiveness by now. Thankfully, Minato's new sealed talisman holds up, and the purification works. Minato says that the sealing power proved to be very useful, and Yamagami tells him to leave the rest to him. He admits that he's never looked after another kami before, so he can't guarantee how it will go. Yamagami touches the sword, and a blinding light fills the room. Minato wonders what happened, and Yamagami confirms that he rescued it. Just then, the entire space begins to collapse. Yamagami tells Minato to hurry and tear an exit open with his wind ability. Elsewhere, Katsuragi uses his spirit number 5 to eliminate some evil spirits. Even more appear, so he wonders what's taking Ichigo and Horikawa so long. Nearby, Ichigo is in danger, and he has to be rescued by Horikawa. He calls her a slowpoke because it took her too long to save him. He almost compliments her by accident, so he stops himself and just tells her that she gained weight. Being so heavy has made her slow, so she's holding him back. Horikawa has figured out that the sound of a bell really bothers him now, so she uses it to get her revenge. He is traumatized by the sound, and she says that it works like a charm. Nearby, the group of girls are running out of spiritual power again, and they're out of talismans. They are surrounded by evil spirits, so Fujino has to tell them to remain calm. Just then, Harima arrives, and he rescues all of them. Harima explains that he used a newer version of the talismans, and the girls are amazed. It was able to exorcise so many spirits, and somehow its power remains. Harima explains that these new talismans have the elimination power sealed inside of them. The girls say that the Jade one is incredible for making them, and they wish that they can meet him. Just then a bright light shines, and we see that it's Minato and Yamagami as they escape the Kami realm. The light is so bright that the girls realize that this has to be the man known as Jade 1. Minato notices Harima, and he wonders why he's surrounded by attractive women. He's never seen this side of Harima before, and he wonders if he has his own harem. Minato can't help but notice that the girls are screaming and covering their eyes. Yamagami explains that to them, what he has in his hand must be blindingly bright. As Minato walks by, he recognizes someone. The hat Katsuragi's wearing reminds him of the mysterious guy that he met when he was a kid. Minato doubts that it's the same person though, so he just leaves. A gust of wind brings attention to Katsuragi's hat, so Horikawa compliments it. Katsuragi reveals that it's his father's trademark, who was an exorcist. Meanwhile, Harima spots the rude exorcist from before, and he wonders what they're doing here. Back home, Minato asks Yamagami what he thinks about the new snacks. Yamagami declares that it has an exquisite texture, and the flavor is amazing. Just then, Minato is shocked, as Yamagami has finally grown back to his full size. Yamagami scratches himself, and an orb falls out of his fur. He explains that it's the divine spirit that was in the sword. He has placed it in a vessel so that he can eventually make it his minion. Minato looks at it and notices that it isn't moving. He wonders if it's low on energy, and Yamagami says that it just wants to rest and it should recover soon enough. Minato places it somewhere comfortable and tells it to get better soon. A while later, Minato walks home on an incredibly hot day. He says that he nearly died from the heat, and Yamagami agrees that the heat these days is certainly abnormal. Luckily, his garden is a kami realm, so it's always nice. Just then, Yamagami gets an idea and suggests that he renovate the garden to make it even more comfortable. He wants it to match this season, but Minato's worried that he may overuse his power again. Yamagami tells him not to worry, and he uses his power to give the garden a more summer feel. The garden has a stream now, and Minato can't believe that the water is actually flowing. Minato thinks that it's perfect, but Yamagami says that something's missing. He creates a bridge, but he doesn't like the spot. He keeps making adjustments, but Minato just gets more worried. Eventually, Yamagami even adds a waterfall, and Minato says that it feels nice and cool. Unfortunately, the mountain god overdid it, and he's transformed to his smaller self. He's the size of a chihuahua, and Minato points out that even his howl is adorable now. A little later, the minions scold Yamagami for overusing his power again. They point out that he always ends up in this pathetic state because he gets carried away. Yamagami tells him that it's not a big deal because even if he's small, he is still himself. Minato wonders why Yamagami is so obsessed with renovating the garden, and Yamagami says that it's simply his hobby. He wanted to adjust the garden for the season, and Minato agrees that it looks great. However, he brings up the fact that Yamagami completely neglects his own mountain and leaves it totally unkept. Yamagami explains that the beauty of nature is letting it be. Minato understands, but he points out that it must be inconvenient for Yamagami to be so small. He says that they need to get him back to normal, but Yamagami tells him that there's no need to rush. Minato then mentions that the divine spirit they rescued from the Kami realm still hasn't woken up. The minions assure him that it's just fatigued and it should wake up soon. Minato then checks on Ho and points out that he's always sleeping. Just then the minions tell him to come look at something, and Minato's shocked to see koi fish. He wonders how they got here, and Yamagami says that they seem to have gotten lost. Minato points out that they're headed towards a dead end, and he is shocked when they start ascending the waterfall. Things get even crazier as these fish start flying. They fly away, and Minato recalls a legend he heard. It said that if koi fish ascend the waterfall, they will become a dragon. Yamagami explains that the koi fish are the minions of a god from the next town over. This makes Minato remember Tsumugi, who's from the neighboring mountain. He hasn't seen her since that day, so he hopes that she's okay. Yamagami says that he couldn't care less about her because the peach he brought them was really bitter. He's disgusted after eating such low quality food, and he says that he didn't expect much considering who her master is. This makes Minato ask if Yamagami's not on good terms with the neighboring god. Yamagami answers that he doesn't like this god, and Minato wonders what kind of god it is. Just then, clouds cover the entire sky, and a dragon appears. Minato is stunned, and he wonders if the legend about the koi is true. The dragon approaches him, and Yamagami tells Minato not to panic. He explains that this giant dragon is a friend of Oryu's. This dragon unleashes a bright light, and Minato is surprised to see that it has shrunk. The dragon would like permission to enter the garden, so Minato allows it. It gives him a gift as a token of their new friendship, and Minato thanks it. It keeps giving him gift after gift until Minato's hands are full. It only stops when Minato says that this is more than enough. After having some drinks, Sari translates for the dragon and explains that he's ready to go home. After he leaves, Minato checks what all the presents are. The first one has moon cakes that are filled with sweet bean paste. Minato says that eating these might get Yamagami back to his normal size, so Yamagami starts eating them without hesitation. They taste really good, but he still hasn't gone back to his normal size. Luckily, there are more snacks, so Minato tells Yamagami to have a feast. Yamagami goes on an eating rampage until there's only one snack left. He munches it down, but everyone's disappointed that he didn't grow back. Minato wonders what's going on, so the minions explain that he just needs to eat more. They end up buying all the premium Japanese sweets money could buy, and Yamagami says that he can't wait to taste them. Just then Minato notices that they're by the mountain where Tsumugi's from. It's a cute little mountain, but Minato thought that gods only reside on big mountains. Yamagami says that size doesn't matter because gods like him are everywhere. Just then Minato starts getting pulled in, and he wonders if it's another abandoned kami realm. Yamagami intervenes immediately, and he tells someone that they're behaving selfishly. He is furious and insulted that someone would show up in front of him in the flesh. This being turns out to be a female fox with 9 tails. Yamagami explains that it's the god of this mountain named Tenko. She disappears, and Minato realizes that she's the one that Yamagami is not on good terms with. Yamagami starts heading towards the mountain, and he explains that Tenko invited Minato here. Minato wonders why, because he's never walked this way before, and he has certainly never met Tenko. Yamagami explains that she knows Minato because she sees everything her minion does. Minato points out that she used a rather aggressive invitation, and he says that if she could invite him normally, he would not mind visiting. Yamagami warns him that there's no guarantee that he would be able to come back out again, so Minato decides that he will pass for now. Meanwhile, Harima updates Katsuragi about spotting Ancho near the abandoned hospital during their last mission. Katsuragi wonders why an exorcist from the neighboring town was in their jurisdiction. Horikawa reveals that she looked into it because something about it bothered her. She has found that Ancho has been spotted in the area multiple times, along with what appears to be a subordinate. Unfortunately, she doesn't know what he's up to. Katsuragi finds this very concerning and says that he will look into it himself. We then see exactly what Ancho is up to. He and his associate named Deno have been tricking elderly residents. They're convincing old people that their ailments are being caused by evil spirits. Then they sell them talismans to get rid of the evil spirits, but they're just ordinary pieces of paper. They tell one lady that they're selling 11 for the price of 10, so she thinks it's a bargain. She buys a bunch of them, and they thank her for her business. Back at the house, Yamagami enjoys the premium Japanese sweets that Minato bought. Minato's disappointed because he isn't growing back, but Yamagami reminds him that there's no rush. Minato then notices that some branches have fallen off the Kusanagi tree, and Yamagami says that it's proof that the tree is growing. Our hero gets really excited as he comes up with another idea. He picks up a chisel and starts carving the branches. Karen panics when he sees the chisel because from his perspective, a chisel in Minato's hands is a deadly weapon. Ryu doesn't understand, so Karen wonders if he even knows how many creatures humans have eliminated and wounded since the dawn of history. Minato's the most terrifying of them all, so Karen wonders if he's planning to slaughter his own kind with that chisel. Reikai has to tell him to pipe down because he's trying to take a nap. Yamagami wonders what Minato's making, so Minato explains that it's a keychain. It's for the customer's room keys at his parents' hot spring. He thought it would be nice to try making some using the branches of the Kusanagi tree since they have power in them. Minato finishes one up and seals the elimination power into it, making it a perfect charm against evil spirits. He also makes one specifically for Yamagami as an amulet. He's not sure if it will be of much help to a god, but he wants Yamagami to have it. He puts it around his neck, and Yamagami says that it's not bad. Just then a squirrel arrives, and Yamagami explains that it wants a piece of the wood that Minato carved. Unfortunately, Yamagami's was the last one, but the squirrel says that it would be okay with one of the failures. Minato gives him one, and the squirrel happily leaves. The squirrel takes it home, and we see that his friend is cursed. It uses Minato's amulet, and it frees its friend from the evil spirit. Later, Minato finishes making dinner, and Yamagami tells him to eat it quickly before a certain fox finds her way here again. Minato laughs and says that there's no way that Tsumugi would show up so soon. The moment he says this, Tsumugi appears at the gate. Minato invites her in and offers her some of the food he made. He also mentions that he has another variety filled with soba noodles instead of vinegar rice, and he calls it soba inari. Tsumugi has never heard of such a thing and is very eager to try it. Before she can eat, she remembers that she came here to apologize. Her master Tenko was really aggressive with her invitation the other day, and she feels terrible. Tsumugi's sorry, but Minato says that it wasn't a big deal. He just considers himself lucky for being able to see a fox with 9 tails. Tsumugi explains that the number of tails is proportional to the strength of the god's power. She says that Tenko is very strong because the shrine she resides in receives the most worshippers in the entire region. They are very grateful for their visitors, but the drawback is that it gets a bit noisy. Just then, Tsumugi transforms as Tenko begins to speak through her. Tenko says that the outside area might be noisy, but inside her kami realm, it is very quiet. It's really peaceful, so Tenko invites Minato to come visit. She wants to taste the food he made, but Yamagami calls her a glutton. Tenko fires back and calls him out for his own greed. She once heard that Yamagami stopped a volcanic eruption because he got distracted by some sweets. Yamagami points out that he didn't give her permission to come here, so he tells her to leave. Tenko says that she doesn't need his permission because Minato's the one who decides who enters the garden. She refuses to be looked down upon, so the two of them start fighting. Unfortunately, Yamagami's attack does nothing, and she calls him weak and pathetic. She says that his power is less than that of a mosquito right now. Yamagami tries again, but Tenko easily blocks his attack. She says that in his current state, the body of Tsumugi is more than enough to deal with him. Their argument escalates, and the two of them clash. They continue to throw insults at each other, and their fight is taken outside. Minato tries to calm them down, but it's no use. Tenko can't believe how weak he's gotten, and she says that it's even worse than 500 years ago. Yamagami's done being insulted, so he says that he's going to show her his true power. Tenko doesn't give him the chance, and she fires an attack. It misses Yamagami, and it's headed straight for Minato. The mountain god sacrifices himself to protect his friend, and he pays the price. Luckily, he's okay, and Tenko takes the opportunity to brag about her victory. They've battled over 33,000 times, and Tenko has won over 22,000 of them. She wonders if Yamagami has gotten weak because he's been hanging out with the human. Yamagami doesn't want to hear that from her because he knows that she seduces the priests of her own shrine. He tells her to clean up her own act before sticking her nose in his business. Tenko explains that it's not seduction, it's just that humans fall for her without her doing anything. She gets very serious as she has a warning for Yamagami. She says that she's been in contact with countless humans before and she can see something coming. If Yamagami gets himself too involved with humans, it will eventually destroy him. She leaves, and Minato wonders if Yamagami's okay. The mountain god is fine, but he overused his power again. What's even worse is that he broke the amulet that Minato gave him. Minato says that he can always make another one, so Yamagami decides to get some rest. Minato can't help but wonder what Tenko meant when she said that getting too involved with humans would eventually destroy Yamagami. Yamagami tells him that it's nothing he should concern himself with, and he shouldn't let Tenko confuse him. Minato quietly asks if he can continue to stay with Yamagami. Yamagami says of course, because he is here of his own volition. Elsewhere, Ancho and Eno are walking home, gloating about their scam. Just then, Katsuragi and Harima confront them. Katsuragi tells them that they seem to be doing quite well, cashing in on their town. Harima reveals that they know all about their evil deeds, so he tells them to leave. They take off, and Katsuragi yells at them for never to step foot in this town again. Harima is sure that they taught them a lesson, and Katsuragi hopes so. Nearby, Ancho is furious, and Eno reminds him that he warned them that this town was a bad idea. Ancho tells him to shut up, and he finds the amulet that Minato gave the squirrel. A while later, we see that Minato has received a package from his mother. She sent him a big batch of summer oranges straight from the farm. The minions are immediately drawn in by the smell, and Minato tells them that they can eat as much as they want. Yamagami still hasn't grown back to normal, so Minato wonders if he's okay. He seems more low energy than usual, so Minato questions if Yamagami's feeling down after losing to Tenko. Minato assumes that he can't grow back to normal because he's in a bad mood. He remembers that he's run out of Japanese sweets, and he comes up with an idea. He asks Yamagami if he would like to go out and eat something tasty together. The minions agree that it's a great idea, and they offer to house sit while they're gone. Yamagami thinks it over and agrees to go with Minato. The two of them head into town, and Minato offers to let Yamagami sit on his shoulder to ease his burden. In town, Minato sees some spots they could eat at, but Yamagami's having a hard time choosing. Minato tells him to pick his favorite place, but something catches Yamagami's eye. It turns out to be the building for the publisher of the local magazine that Yamagami likes to read. Yamagami says that they're going inside because he has something to say to them. In the building, some guy named Tawada is really depressed about his bad luck, which causes him to get possessed by evil spirits all the time. To make things even worse, his local magazine sales aren't growing. The company president arrives, and he's glad to see that Tawada is going out to gather information for a special feature that he's doing on Japanese sweets. He says that Tawada did a great job on last month's special feature, and he looks forward to the next one. He hopes that if it reaches Yamagami, he might visit their town again. He heads off to another meeting, and Tawada's left wondering whether his articles are really reaching this so-called Yamagami. Just then, Tawada senses something strange, and he fears that another evil spirit is possessing him. The evil spirit begins to choke him, and Tawada wonders if this is how his life will end. Luckily for him, Yamagami shows up out of nowhere and rescues him from the evil spirit. Minato tells Yamagami that he shouldn't just barge into places, and Tawada can't believe that this is the legendary Yamagami. Minato is surprised that Tawada can see him, and Yamagami explains that he's just allowing him to. Tawada can barely believe that Yamagami's real, but he also points out that he's awfully cute in his small form. Yamagami declares that he's a mountain god, and he asks Tawada if he's the writer of the Japanese sweets articles. Tawada confirms it, and Yamagami reveals that he always looks forward to those articles. Tawada is overwhelmed because he can't believe that Yamagami actually reads them. He insists that Yamagami meet the president because he's been waiting for him. Tawada reveals that everyone has been waiting to meet him, so he asks Yamagami to wait while he gathers everyone. Tawada informs all the employees, and they come rushing to see the mountain god. When they arrive, they wonder where the legendary being is. Minato has to remind Yamagami that they probably don't recognize him in his smaller form. Surprisingly, they do, and they kneel down in front of him. The president says that they've been waiting for Yamagami for a long time. He explains that the founder of the company, named Musashi, used to tell him a great deal about Yamagami. He says that after Yamagami helped Musashi, the two of them used to go to sweet shops together. Yamagami remembers this well, and he delights everyone when he tells them that he still reads their magazine. He reveals that he has actually come here today to say something about it. Everyone's really nervous to hear what he's going to say, but it's not what they think. Yamagami merely has a suggestion, which is for them to make the next special feature about smooth bean paste and not chunky paste. The entire room immediately agrees, and the president orders the staff to do as he says. Yamagami is satisfied, so he tells Minato that they should go eat something tasty now. On their way, Minato says that he's surprised to learn that Yamagami had more friends in the past. Yamagami explains that back then, there were more people who could see those who were not human. Yamagami notices that Yamagami's spirit seems to be lifting a little, so he decides to keep the outing going. Just then they pick up the scent of some delicious curry, so they go to the restaurant the smell is coming from. They're surprised when they're given 2 menus, and they wonder if the waitress can see Yamagami. Yamagami tells Minato that she can't see him, and she has no power to detect his presence either. Yamagami lifts the menu with his powers, but Minato fears that someone will notice. Yamagami says that there's nothing to worry about, and he tells Minato to look around. In the next table over, Minato sees that a cup is floating in the air. It turns out that it's another god having lunch with another person. He wonders if there's another god by some guy because he can't sense anything around him. Yamagami reveals that there are actually tons of yokai surrounding this person. Minato is surprised because normally he should be able to see yokai. Yamagami explains that it's been a while since Minato left his parents' home, so his perception has probably dulled a bit. Minato marvels at how gods and yokai are just hanging out here, and he wonders what kind of place this is. Yamagami is quick to point out that Minato is with gods all the time. He then reminds Minato that they're supposed to be ordering some delicious curry. Eventually they get their food, and Yamagami says that the spice level is just right. Just then Minato notices that some scissors are moving on their own nearby. Yamagami reveals that they have turned into something called the Tsukumogami. He explains that when a tool is treasured for a very long time, it's imbued with the soul, and it becomes a Tsukumogami. Minato is stunned when Yamagami points out that there is even one inside his house. It's the wind chime, but Minato says that it has never moved on its own. Yamagami reveals that it doesn't move on its own because it wishes to only exist as a simple wind chime. It doesn't bother anyone, which is why Yamagami allows it to live with them. Yamagami tells him to maintain it every now and then because it would appreciate that. This is the first time Minato has heard about this, so he promises to take good care of it. Just then Minato notices that the bell at the door doesn't ring whenever someone leaves, even though it rang earlier. Yamagami reveals that this bell is also a Tsukumogami. He assumes that it only rings to alert the staff when something that is not human enters. Minato realizes that this is how the waitress knew to give them 2 menus. He is amazed because this is a diner where gods and yokai are allowed to enter. Just then Yamagami receives a message from Seri through their connection, and she tells them that they have uninvited guests at the house. Back at the house, we see that Ancho and Eno have shown up at Minato's property. They don't know what they're up to, so Yamagami tells them to keep an eye on them. Ancho and Eno have figured out that this is the house of the person who made the wooden tag that they found in the forest. They're here to speak to the creator so they can get the wooden tags for cheap. The minions can immediately sense that there's something terrible about these two guys. Itsugi says that they stink worse than anyone he has ever encountered. Sari explains that the souls of rotten humans have a terrible stench, and even her eyes can feel it. No one answers the door when they ring the bell, so the guys determine that they have no choice but to break in. The minions can't believe that they're trying to force the gate open, and they say that they didn't know that such worthless humans existed. Yamagami is seeing all this, and he tells the minions to do what they feel is best. They're excited to hear this, and they say that they're gonna make these guys regret ever coming here. The guys struggle to open the gate, so they're surprised when it opens on its own. They assume that it was just left open, and they blame the laid-back country lifestyle. They then bang on the front door, but they determine that no one is home. They find that even the front door was left open, and they can't believe how careless the owner is. They smell oranges, but they don't see any around. It's clear that no one is here, so they decide to go inside. It's a really big house, and they find that every room is empty. They keep looking, and they are stunned by the insane number of rooms. Eno wonders why Ancho stopped opening doors, and Ancho is surprised that he hasn't noticed something. He points out that it would be impossible to have such a long corridor and so many rooms in this one house. What's even more strange is that the scent of oranges keeps getting stronger. It turns out that the smell is coming from the minions that they can't see. The minions are holding the oranges up to their faces because the stench from these two guys is so overwhelming. Itsugi says that the oranges truly saved them because without the citrus scent, the stench of these guys would have ruined their noses. Just then the guys panic as the corridor is starting to disappear. They realize that if this continues, then they will disappear as well. They run for their lives and they wonder what's wrong with this crazy house. The darkness closes in on them and they soon find themselves back outside. They have no clue what just happened, so they just run away as fast as they can. Meanwhile, the minions calmly say that their plan worked. They conditioned Ancho and Eno to feel fear whenever they smell the scent of summer oranges. If they ever come back, they will simply launch a citrus attack. They even think about telling Minato to put an orange-scented air freshener at the entrance just in case. Back in town, Minato and Yamagami have just finished their meal. They really enjoyed it, so they decide to come back another time. Minato thought that he managed to make Yamagami feel better, but he still isn't growing back to normal. Before heading home, Yamagami reveals that the minions just finished getting rid of some uninvited guests. On their way back, they notice an old woman praying at a shrine. She wonders if Minato has come to make an offering to the great kami, but he has no clue what that is. Just then, the woman's daughter arrives to take her home. Minato wonders what the great kami is, so the girl explains that it's the god of the mountain that her mother worships. She always used to tell her that the great kami lived on this mountain. That's why she comes to pay respect to the Jizo statue that is dedicated to the great kami. They leave, and Minato points out to Yamagami that people really cherish him. Yamagami knows this, and Minato's shocked to see that he has grown back to normal. He has an even bigger presence now, and Yamagami says that it's only natural because he is a mountain god. His light is blinding, so Minato has to ask him to turn it down a bit. Minato says that he's really glad that Yamagami's feeling better, but Yamagami's confused. Minato explains that he assumed that he wasn't growing back because he was depressed about losing to Tenko. Yamagami denies this and says again that he simply overused his power. This only makes Minato wonder why he seemed so down earlier. Yamagami explains that it was because a special feature in the magazine was about chunky paste and he was feeling bummed about it. Minato's glad to hear that it wasn't anything serious, and they head home. On their way, Minato wonders if Yamagami grew back because the people in this town believe in his existence. Elsewhere, Katsuragi and Harima are told about Eno and Ancho appearing at Minato's house. Harima wonders what happened, so Katsuragi tells him not to be alarmed. His penguin told him that the exorcists were completely outsmarted. Meanwhile, Eno and Ancho still can't believe what just happened. Eno's ready to just go home because nothing good has happened since coming to this town. Ancho, on the other hand, refuses to give up. He tells Eno that he's not leaving until he makes a killing in this town. Just then, a giant portal opens in the sky, and they wonder what it is. Back with Harima, he arrives at Minato's house. As soon as he takes one step inside, he feels an overwhelming pressure, unlike anything he has ever felt before. He can barely move, and Yamagami's impressed that he's still standing. The minions are also impressed, and Minato can't believe that they're putting pressure on him again. Minato goes to invite him inside, and he's surprised to see that Ho-Oh is on top of his head. Harima continues to struggle, and he says that today, even his head feels heavy. Minato then wonders if the charms with the elimination power have been helpful to Harima. Harima says that they are definitely useful because their effects last much longer than before. However, he reveals that there's something that concerns him. Lately, evil spirits have started appearing in town more and more frequently, and the Omni-Oji simply can't keep up. To manage this situation, they've been posting Minato's charms all over town. Unfortunately, not even that has been enough, because evil spirits keep increasing regardless. Minato wonders what's causing this, and Harima says that they're still investigating. Our hero's at least glad that his charms are helping a bit, and Harima reveals that he has some presents. His sisters and cousins have all sent Minato some tokens of their gratitude. Their message was to give their regards to the Jade One. Minato's confused, and he wonders what the Jade One means. Harima explains that Minato's elimination power emits a jade light when it's used. Minato had no idea because that's not something visible to his own eyes. Harima then wonders if two exorcists invaded Minato's house the other day. Minato has no clue what he's talking about, but the minions do. They tell Minato that some smelly guys came here the other day and they fought them off. Minato tells this to Harima, and Harima has a warning for him. He explains that Ancho and Eno are persistent, so they might try something again. A little later, Yamagami sits quietly, and Minato wonders what's on his mind. Yamagami brings up what Harima said about the evil spirits multiplying in town. He says that he senses something wicked at work, and hopes that it doesn't lead to bigger problems. Minato shares his concern because he hopes nothing bad happens either. Just then the pond begins to glow, and a huge power erupts. A mysterious man appears, and Minato tries to welcome him. The guy looks Minato over and realizes that he's the guy who's been receiving powers from gods. This guy has snakes all over him, so Minato wonders if he's the wicked thing that Yamagami was worried about. This doesn't seem to be the case because Yamagami is completely disinterested. The visitor then mentions that his big sister told him all about Minato. He was hoping to be impressed by this human that she was willing to give her power to, but he's decided that Minato is just a dud. Minato's confused about who this big sister is, and then it hits him. He determines that this guy is talking about Amaterasu. Minato then looks at the 8-headed snake that's wrapped around him, and he realizes that he's the one known as Susanoo. Minato quickly tells him that he takes good care of the sealing power that he received from Amaterasu and asks him to give her his regards. Susanoo surprisingly apologizes for barging in, and he gives Minato a gift as an apology. It's a giant bucket of sake, and the alcoholic Reikai immediately appears to have a drink. The 8-headed snake named Orochi starts drinking, so Susanoo has to scold him. He says that the sake isn't theirs, but this just causes them to argue. Their argument gets so intense that Susanoo even summons a weapon and asks if Orochi wants to get beat up again. He vows to chop off every one of its heads, and they actually start fighting. Minato tries to warn Yamagami that they have a problem, but the mountain god is fast asleep. He then tries to ask Susanoo not to make any bloodshed, but that's exactly what he's trying to do. He explains that if you chop up the snake, a sword will come out of its tail. Susanoo offers to show him, but Minato says that he's not interested. Susanoo doesn't believe him because all men love that kind of stuff. He doesn't like being interrupted, so he attacks our hero. Minato then surprises himself when he blocks the attack with his wind magic. Susanoo says that he wields the wind power pretty well, but Minato points out that he still has a lot to learn. Susanoo agrees with him as he calls him a wuss, and he announces that he will train Minato. Minato declines the offer, but Susanoo ignores him. He says that they can't do the training here, so they will go to his place. Before Minato can refuse, Susanoo takes him straight into the air. He explains that it won't take very long to get there, and Minato wonders if he lives close. Susanoo reveals that it's actually pretty far, but he has a kami realm that can take them there. They go through the portal, and Yamagami wakes up to see what happened. He can't believe that Susanoo still doesn't have any restraint, but Orochi tells him to cut Susanoo some slack. He's just excited because he hasn't had a friend in a long time. They might get in some trouble though, so the spirits go after them. Minato then arrives at Susanoo's house with a crash to the ground. He wishes that Susanoo wouldn't be so rough, but Susanoo explains that he's only gentle with girls. There's no time to waste, so Susanoo says that it's time to start training. Just then the spirits arrive, and Yamagami says that this place brings back memories. The houses here remind him of old times, and Minato can't believe how relaxed he is. The training begins immediately, and it's absolutely relentless. Susanoo is just attacking Minato over and over again, and Minato's just doing his best to stay alive. Minato says that Susanoo's overdoing it because he's going to end up destroying everything here. Susanoo couldn't care less because nobody even lives here. His attack continues, so Minato points out that he doesn't even have a weapon, and it's not fair to be swung at with a sword. Susanoo says that it's not his problem, and he suggests that Minato carry a weapon too. Minato declares that he doesn't have one, and he has no plans to get one. Susanoo can't understand why Minato's content with just having his wimpy wind powers. Minato explains that being able to protect himself and his friends is enough for him. This surprises Susanoo even more because Minato really believes that he can protect people with his little breeze ability. He points out that Minato is the first human that Fujin has ever given his power to, so Minato will make him look bad if he ends up being weak. In all the time that Susanoo has been around, he has never seen another human receive power from Fujin. Just then it finally dawns on Minato that Susanoo himself is also a legendary great kami. Minato immediately apologizes for being so sassy to such a great kami. Susanoo gets defensive, and he wonders why Minato is suddenly sucking up to him. He's infuriated, and he accuses Minato of thinking that he's some old geezer. Susanoo declares that he's still young, and he tells Minato not to dare call him old. The spirits chime in to say that it wasn't that long ago when Susanoo was crying his lungs out for missing his mommy. Susanoo gets even more upset, and he notices that the spirits are getting drunk together. Minato says that they're like old friends at a bar, but Susanoo doesn't like him being distracted. He unleashes another attack, and their training continues. Elsewhere, Eno and Anto are busy taking down the charms that Harima put up. They actually like having more evil spirits in town because it gives them more opportunities to scam. Just then, they notice Katsuragi nearby, and they run away. Katsuragi sees them, and he reveals to Harima that they're the ones taking down the charms. They realize that this must be why the number of evil spirits isn't going down. Katsuragi says that they can't let this go unpunished, and they have to go after them. Harima, however, points out that it still doesn't explain why the number of evil spirits is increasing. Just then, Horikawa arrives to warn them that the evil spirits are spawning nearby. The guys are stunned, and they don't even know what she means by spawning. Horikawa can't explain because all she knows is that the area is filled with miasma. Meanwhile, Minato's training continues, and he wonders what he's supposed to do. Susanoo's way too overpowered, so all Minato's been doing is running away. Minato finally fires back with a wind attack, and Susanoo's glad to see that he's ready to fight. Minato determines that Susanoo's reading his long-range attacks, so he has to try something else. His only option is to draw him in close. Minato waits for exactly the right moment, and then he releases a direct counterattack at close range. Minato is stunned as his plan actually works, and he pushes Susanoo back. Susanoo admits that his wind was not too bad. He acknowledges that drawing him in and counterattacking at the last minute takes a lot of guts, and Minato impressed him. Susanoo says that he gave Minato a hard time at first, but it's pretty amazing that a mere mortal can wield the power of a god. However, he still points out that he's far below the level of Fujin. The two have a good laugh, and Susanoo decides to call it a day. They sit down to have a meal at Minato's house, and Minato tells everyone to eat as much as they want. Susanoo stuffs his face and says that the food is amazing. He only has one complaint, and it's about the eggplants. Minato explains that they were prepared using store-bought broth, and this upsets Susanoo. He points out that this is why he said earlier that Minato lacks attention to detail. Minato's caught off guard because Susanoo was praising him before, but Susanoo denies that ever happening. Meanwhile, Reikai is trying to enjoy his sake, but he complains that Orochi is snoring too loud. Everyone around is enjoying their drinks, and Kirin tells them that they can have some exotic fruits for dessert. The other gods hate his fruit because it smells really bad. Susanoo makes a comment about how Minato eats a lot for being so skinny and tells him to chew properly. Minato points out that Susanoo should take his own advice, and he's talking like an old man. They bicker back and forth, but Susanoo eventually says something that actually matters. He says that having Minato around is better than nothing, and Minato wonders what he means. Susanoo explains that when left alone, Yamagami overuses his power all the time and keeps shrinking. On top of that, the trouble keeps happening around the area with evil spirits and abandoned kami realms. His point is that Minato needs to support the old geezer with his power. Minato realizes that this is why Susanoo picked him to do training, and he thanks him. Susanoo simply denies it, but then he asks Minato when he wants to do this again. Just then Amaterasu appears, and the change in Susanoo's attitude is immediate. Amaterasu greets Minato warmly, and then she turns her attention to Susanoo. She scolds him for being violent towards a human and for making him feed him. Susanoo tries to explain that he only wanted to train, but Amaterasu tells him that they're going home. She pulls him away, but the minions arrive to wonder if they want some freshly harvested produce. Susanoo would love some, but Amaterasu drags him home. Meanwhile, the situation in town is getting very serious. Harima and the others have gathered at the empty lot where the evil spirits are spawning. Harima can't believe how dense the miasma is, and Katsuragi says that they should cleanse it. Before they can, a ton of evil spirits arrive, and they see a giant portal in the sky. They wonder if this is where the evil spirits are coming from. Katsuragi realizes that this is the reason the evil spirits keep increasing no matter what they do. The portal starts moving, and dark clouds appear all around the city. A while later, Minato and the crew walk through the shopping district, and they notice that a festival is being set up. It's called the Hojo Festival, and it's held once every 3 years. Sari explains that it's an event people started as a ceremony to offer gratitude for the mountain's blessings. Yamagami confirms that the festival is for his mountain, and he says that not many people remember the origin of the festival. Just then, Minato spots the sweet shop owner who's setting up a stall for the festival. He will be offering a mountain of special buns that is a favorite of the holy dog. Minato is sure that the dog will be happy, and Yamagami reminds him that he's a mountain god. The owner's grandson is being trained, and he's determined to become a full-fledged confectioner. Minato hasn't seen the grandson in some time, and Yamagami says that the sweet shop is in good hands. Minato then admires how there's so many people working hard to make Yamagami's festival happen. Yamagami applauds their effort, and he begins to glow. Minato determines that it's thanks to the people in town that Yamagami can thrive like this. He reminds Yamagami that he's the star of the show, so he wonders which sweets he wants to buy. Yamagami takes him up on the offer, and they continue shopping. Elsewhere, Tenko stares at the sky as a portal opens. On the way home, Minato sees some kids playing a spinning tops game. It's usually a New Year's toy, but at this shop, you can play all year around. Minato and Yamagami agree to play, but Minato says that he might be a bit rusty. He amazes everyone by spinning the top on his first try, and he wonders how Yamagami's doing. The mountain god is struggling immensely, but he comes up with an idea. He spins the top using magic, but Minato calls it cheating. Yamagami still has to throw it to play, but he fails miserably. Minato reminds him that practice makes perfect, so Yamagami keeps trying. Eventually, he gets really frustrated and assumes that he's failing because his top isn't shaped properly. Minato says that the shape is fine, so Yamagami assumes that it must be the ring on the playing board. Minato explains that he's just using too much force, so he tells him how to do it better. He tells him to just lightly place the top on the board, and everyone celebrates when it works. Now that Yamagami has the hang of it, Minato says that it's time for battle. Sari announces the start of the match and explains the rules. The top that pushes the other top out of bounds or stays spinning longer wins. The battle begins, and the minions cheer on our heroes. Minato launches his top at Yamagami's, and he wonders if he's going to fight back. Yamagami says that there's no need, and he reminds our hero that he's a mountain god. He declares that the shortcut to victory is to be immobile, just like a mountain. Minato attacks again, and the minions are amazed to see that Yamagami's top isn't budging at all. Eventually, the top starts slowing down, and they nearly fall at the same time. Yamagami's the clear winner, and Minato accepts defeat. Yamagami howls in celebration, and we see that Harima thinks he heard something in the distance. Harima and Katsuragi are discovering that more of Minato's charms have been torn down and removed. They have just found 3 more, and it seems like several dozen have been removed across the whole area. Ancho and Eno are nowhere to be found, but they have to be stopped immediately. What bothers Katsuragi even more is that they don't have an explanation for the portal that was spewing out evil spirits. Ichigo thought that Ancho and Eno were behind this as well, but there's no telling for sure. They will just have to catch them and make them confess. Just then Horikawa arrives with an anonymous tip about the location of Ancho and Eno. They are in a vacant house nearby, so our heroes go to investigate. When they leave, we see that they are being watched by the mysterious traveling exorcist. Meanwhile, Minato and the others have finished shopping, and they head home. Minato is stunned though, when he spots the mysterious guy that he met when he was a kid. He loses track of him, and he wonders if it was just his imagination. Minato reminds Yamagami that that was the guy who saw that his handwriting had the elimination power. Minato thinks about it, and realizes that it wouldn't make sense for him to randomly be here. Yamagami explains that this guy is most likely a wandering exorcist. He might have sensed that something was happening here, and he came to this town to investigate. Minato wonders what he would be investigating, and he gets his answer. A voice in his ear says that big trouble is coming, and it's really dangerous. The minions explain that the voices are wind spirits, and they're warning them of danger. Yamagami adds that they're telling them that the wicked power he has been feeling is on the rise. Just then, Fujin and Reijin appear, and they say that they have a problem that they came to warn them about. They reveal that a bizarre abandoned kami realm has appeared, and it's enormous. Evil spirits are pouring out of it in huge numbers, and they've never seen anything like it before. Also, it moves around all over the place, making it completely unpredictable. Minato and Yamagami both realize that this is the wicked power that he had been sensing. Yamagami's more sure than ever that deep inside that abandoned kami realm, there lies an extraordinary power. Elsewhere, Ancho and Eno discuss how they have another job ready. Evil spirits are pouring out of the portal, and they're making tons of money. Just then, they are caught by Harima and the others, and they are told that this is where their scam ends. Harima wants answers, so he asks them if they were the ones who removed the charms around town. He also demands to know what that portal is that's producing the evil spirits. Ancho and Eno confess to removing the charms, but they have no clue what the portal is. Katsuragi doesn't believe them, and he demands to know why they ran away. Ancho admits that when he first saw the portal, he thought that it could be useful. If they just left it alone, more evil spirits would flood the town, and they would make a killing on all the exorcising jobs. To make sure that the town would be flooded with evil spirits, they removed every charm that stood in their way. Katsuragi still doesn't believe that they don't know more about the portal, and Harima demands to know how they're controlling it. They keep denying it, so Horikawa wonders if they really are clueless. Just then, they hear a terrifying sound, and Harima rushes off to find out what it is. Minato and the others hear it as well, and the mysterious portal arrives in front of them. Harima shows up, and Minato points to the portal. Minato explains that it's a kami realm that was abandoned by the god that created it. However, he's never seen one this big, and he's never seen one that can produce evil spirits. Evil spirits pour out of it, and they cause harm to all the villagers. The miasma is spreading, and everyone is in danger. Yamagami analyzes the portal, and he sees that there's a giant evil spirit inside of it. It's an evil spirit that holds an unjust resentment because its faith in a kami was betrayed. It became an evil spirit as a result of that betrayal, and is now taking out that rage on everything around it. Yamagami tells everyone to step back, and he unleashes his power directly at the realm. He makes it disappear, and everyone is amazed. Yamagami tells them not to let their guard down because there's still a horde of evil spirits. The spirits charge at them, and the minions go to shield our heroes. Unfortunately, the impurity is way too powerful, and the minions are left in bad shape. Minato purifies the area around them, but more spirits come charging in. Yamagami tells Minato that he's going to need more elimination power, so Minato says that he's going to need his regular brush pen. He tells Harima that he's going to retreat for now and come back with much stronger charms. As he rushes home, Ancho and Eno take this moment to get away. They can't go after them because right now they have to deal with the evil spirits. At Minato's house, the minions apologize for having no energy left. Minato gets to work making more charms, and he refuses to let the evil spirits ruin tomorrow's festival. Just then, Ho makes a noise outside, and Minato sees that the Kami realm has returned. He thought that Yamagami purified it earlier, so Yamagami explains that there's still an evil spirit inside of it. He fears that at this rate, all the animals on the mountain will be eliminated. Minato can only wonder why the evil spirits are attacking the mountain. Yamagami reminds him that it became an evil spirit because its faith in Kami was betrayed. Now it seems to be taking out that rage on Yamagami. Just then, Minato notices that the birds have assembled around Ho-Ho. The koi have returned to the pond, and several more animals have come from the mountain. Yamagami explains that they came here to help remove the impurity. Suddenly, Yamagami and the minions turn transparent, and Minato wonders what's going on. He realizes that it must be because the mountain is being ruined. Yamagami explains that that's partly correct, but there's more to it. The source of his power is the people's respect for the mountain. When it's cut off due to impurity, Yamagami can't maintain this form. Minato determines that he has to exorcise the evil spirits right now, or a lot of bad stuff will happen. Meanwhile, Harima and his crew are doing their best to fight off the spirits. Katsuragi's using his own spirits to fight back, but there are just far too many evil ones. There is no end to them, and Horikawa finds herself in a bad spot. Ichigo rescues her and tells her not to leave his side. Back at the house, Minato finishes making a new batch of stronger charms. Just then, Yamagami points out that the Kami realm is moving back to the town. Minato gets worried and declares that he has to rescue everyone. Yamagami says that he will take care of the impurity on the mountain, and he tells Minato not to worry about the minions. He looks at their entire little spirit family and says that he will take care of everyone. Minato gets ready to leave, and he tells Yamagami that they should enjoy some sweets when this is all over. Yamagami says that he's counting on him, and Minato leaves. On his way to town, the traveler notices Minato's jade light. He realizes that Minato's the boy he met a long time ago, and he says that they need him now more than ever. Meanwhile, Harima's sisters and cousins arrive to help out in the fight. As they battle, they declare that they will do their best until the Jade One arrives. Katsuragi's glad to see that they're helping, but there are still far too many evil spirits. Things are looking really bad, and they wonder what they should do. Minato rushes towards them, but he's attacked by the spirits. He fends them off with his charms, but the charms end up getting blown away into the sky. This is absolutely terrible, and the spirits charge in once again. Minato's life is about to come to an end, but Yamagami comes out of nowhere to protect him. The evil spirits are way too powerful, and Yamagami is forced to transform into a smaller self. He screams as he does his best to fend them off, and Minato tells him not to push himself. Yamagami doesn't back down, even though he's in immense pain, and Minato can only call out to him. Thanks for watching my recap. Make sure to like the video.